All right, I'm live, and Eric is in here. I don't know what's going on. We're having some weird connection issues tonight. He's gone. So let me know if you guys can hear me or not. Eric said I'm really choppy, and now it says device isn't connected. So BTC will be in here in a minute. They both kind of got confused on the time, and that's fine. I'm pretty confusing person, but just to let you guys know, Ken Duke was going to be on here. Ken texted me around 1 o'clock, said he had something come up he had to take care of. He wouldn't be able to get in here, so I brought in. Well, there's BTC. We're going to put him on here. We'll put BTC in here. All right, everybody, welcome BTC, aka Brian the Carpenter from Bass After Dark. First time on the Baitman stream. BTC, welcome.
Hey, thanks. Hold on a second.
Yeah,
forgot left the music on.
We're good with music.
Oh fuck, so am I. But sorry, dude.
No, it's all good, man. For some reason, I had Eric in, and he said I'm sounding like every third or fourth word he couldn't hear. He's trying to get
on his end.
I think it is too. He said he got a new webcam and whatnot, but we'll get EE in here. He's going to fill in for Ken tonight. I had to go to the I won't say the bullpen because he's really an all-star.
That he is.
Yeah. Eric, can you hear us now? I don't know if Eric can hear us.
BTC. Yo, what's up, BTC? Dude? I can hear BTC. I can hear you now. Good. What's up?
All right. Your signal's weak. Eh? Yeah, your Wi-Fi's weak, bud.
Yeah, apparently, man.
Yeah, I got
me and Baxter's Wi-Fi do not like each other.
Yeah, a lot of people in the stream are saying Eric's got a bad connection. I'd probably go reset my router, then log back on.
Reset. Sorry, dude. I'm just running late. I was just fixing a dryer in a rental property about 10 minutes ago.
No, that's okay. I know how that goes. I'm probably due for one of mine to go out, even though I just bought one last year. It never fails.
You got rentals?
No, dude, I ain't. I'm poor. I wish I did. I wish I did. I need my extra income right now is selling baits on Whatnot, which is like a live eBay deal. It works out pretty good, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Oh shit! Oh.
So if you got any OGs back there that you just got a stockpile of, you let me know. But anyway,
I got a lot of stuff. I don't know if I got anything real valuable though. Just a lot of stuff.
Other than my balsa collection and a few vixens, I don't have anything real. You know, everyone's got the big swim baits these days. I think the price on them's going down a little bit too. All right, let's try to get Eric in here one more time. All right, Eric, can you hear us? Eric is still froze. Well, let's see.
This is going to be a rough one. Give me 1 second.
Edit mic settings. Reduce.
It's his internet because I talked to him. He let me know about 15 minutes before we got live that we were 8 o'clock. Somehow I had the time screwed up, man. I swear I saw 8 Central somewhere.
It's very possible it was on my end.
Did you post that somewhere?
It's very possible. I'll have to look.
Probably not, dude, because I went back and checked them all, or checked a couple of them. I don't know.
It'll be epic at 7 o'clock on the YouTube. I can't go back to all my stories. Let me go on Instagram.
Mandela effect or something. Probably
7 o'clock CT special edition. It's all good. We got like 71 people in here right now. And I wish Ken was here, but everything I know,
Yeah,
BTC, you're a good substitute. You're a good co-host. So, and you know a lot about baits.
I know a little bit about baits. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm the bait nerd that Duke, yourself, or Epic Eric is,
Well,
but I'm here. I've been fishing
yeah.
for a long time, since the 90s,
You
80s,
you look younger than
80s.
me, so
Well, I'm not. I'm 52, 51, about to be
I
52.
was thinking like 37, 38. But I've only met you one time. It was really like a nanosecond. It was at the classic years ago, Birmingham.
Yeah, as you say,
And
Birmingham.
yeah, and I just walked by and went, the Carpenter. And you look back and you're like, what's up? And we just both kept on going. But we'll make that connection again very soon, I'm sure. But big fan of you. But so our topic tonight, we're missing Duke. Hopefully we get Eric back in here. Is the most influential baits of the modern era. And so I'm cutting the modern era off at 2004. So that's 20 years, roughly. It'll be 20 years January.
So the most influential post Senko baits.
Yes. So I did this little poll on Instagram and Facebook. I don't know if it's reading comprehension or, I got a good one. 90% of it was Cinco. And I'm like, Cinco was actually made in the mid
90s.
90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Back when Gary Yamamoto Bait Company didn't have cool packaging and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
I will say it was probably into the 2000s that it really got super popular.
Yeah. Everybody realized you can catch them.
Yeah. Now every bait company has a stick worm. But anyway.
It's so backwards, man. It's technology in reverse. Like, screw the curly tail. Just straight.
Yeah. Rumor has it was just Gary was looking at a Sharpie or a big pen or something sitting on his
Big
desk.
pen.
Let's make that. And they made it. But
I mean, it's not the shape. It's really the plastic content, right?
Correct. It's like I forgot how much salt is in the Cinco. It's a ridiculous amount. And that's also why it's not very durable.
Great business model.
Oh yeah, catch a fish every cast. Got to buy a new pack every time you go fishing. I mean, keep them wanting more, right?
Hell yeah. I mean, he makes a lot of good baits, but yeah, that plastic is something special. Yeah, because back then and before that, it was, culprit, curl tail and zoom U-tail worms and gator tails and
Yep. And some of that stuff's getting popular again. Didn't Clun win a tournament on a gator tail worm? The one he won at St. John's, wasn't he using a gator tail worm? I think he was.
Ken Duke would know.
I know Ken Duke would know. We miss you, Ken. And the reason I think he did, because I had a bunch of people in my DMs like, hey, you got any of those G-tail worms that Clun was using, them gator tails? So I was like, yeah, I actually do. Some of them are really old. But
yeah, I used to throw them way back in the day.
Real quick before we get into our
kangaroo worm from Mans.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah,
had a little pouch in it.
There was Producto lures. They made Producto had the gator tail, and they made a nice segmented worm. Before we get too much into the baits, I gotta let you plug Bass After Dark. So I've been watching. Y'all doing a great job, just so you know, hitting on some topics and having some good guests. Got any preview for tomorrow's show?
So let me start with what the show is. It's something that Ken Duke dreamed up, and I think it's fantastic. In case anybody doesn't know me, I grew up with Ike and Ellie, and about 10 years ago, we started doing Ike Live, and he asked me to do that with him. So I did Ike Live with Mike, then the Bass University, and then it kind of work got really busy, and last year I had to step away from Bass U, and then this year Mike went to just do an Ike Live by himself. So it's pretty much out. And I was looking forward to it, honestly. because you know, Kevin, the more you're involved in the fishing industry, the less you get to fish.
100%.
Somehow it just works that way. But life's busy with work and family and everything, and then and that's, you know, like, oh, it was a good 10-year run. You know, I knew I would miss it and all the friends I've made and everything, but you know, Ken came to me with this show idea he had, and I'm a huge fan of Ken. Really, really like and respect that guy. And the fact that it was Ken and the concept, the topic of the show, or you know, the format of the show, I just felt like it couldn't miss. I was like, all right, man, screw it, let's do this. So every show is predicated upon one question, one single topic. We select 3 guests or panelists, experts on that, and that's the gist of the show. We don't tell the other guests who their counterparts are going to be. We keep that kind of energy for the show. You know, it's guys got to go in prepared. They can't, you know, show up saying, it's just going to be on there with my buddies. No, you might be on there with somebody that has opposite ideas, whatever the case. Plus, if we could get the show to take off, I think the unknown adds an element for the viewers. You know what I mean? We lose a lot in not being able to promote who's coming on. I mean, our third show, we had Blockett and Milliken on, and we got no promotion. Couldn't promote that they were coming on. They both have huge accounts. Neither of them could promote it. And then after the show, they were both pissed off at it. And I'd say they were pissed off, but maybe like just it was a little combative. I mean,
you know, it's a little bit like Jerry Springer. You know, you get the woman on
that
there.
One was,
yeah.
So neither
but you
one
know, I had a lot
of
people. I had a lot of people, and I mean a lot, message me, "Hey man, did you watch Bass After Dark with Milliken and Blockett? What did you think?" And I actually sat down. You know, I was at work, so the next morning when I got in, I sat down and watched the whole thing. Even Ben texted me, he's like, "Hey man, what did you think? How did I do?" And I said, "Actually, the format's really good." I actually watched the whole thing, and I'll be honest, BTC, I really don't watch a whole lot of people streaming on YouTube anymore because so many people are doing it, and the guests go through the car wash. Like if I get a guy on, then he's on this guy, then he's on this guy, and I'm like, man, it's the same content over and over.
Oh yeah,
I like that. I don't know who's going to be on there. Put a topic out there, and I'll watch
it. You know, and when we started doing Ike Live, there wasn't all this out there. You know, Mark Jeffries with BTL for sure, and a few others. But technology advances, and everybody's got one, and it became a thing where, you know, now you're competing with guests, and like you said, the circle jerk. And we've run into it already with this show. But I think the way it's set up, we really won't have to get caught up into that circle jerk. You know, it's
right.
We're not chasing the winners from every event. You know, there's a million shows that are doing that. This is different. The format's very different. And we put a lot of work into it. And that's another thing I was really looking forward to working with Ken, because he will not go into something unprepared and just wing it. Not happening. And I really appreciate that. So we put a lot of work into getting ourselves ready for it. The show starts out with a monologue from Ken, which, if you know Ken, he's brilliant. You know, I think he's really, really smart guy and knows everything that's going on. So to get him to give his thoughts on something in the industry is a lot more valuable than he knows, because it took a while to talk him into it. He starts with a monologue. We jump right into the show, and then we finish with a top 10 list that will probably get us in trouble with some people at certain
top
points.
10 is amazing. I think I would watch the whole show. It's like Letterman. You watch the show just to see the top 10. So y'all are doing a great job, and that's one reason I want to have you on here, because, you know, I like propping people up, whether they're bigger than me, which y'all are, or smaller than me. And I don't like having the same guests all the time. You know, I like having Ben on, of course, because he's my buddy and all that, and affiliated with Sixth Sense. But, you know, if I start seeing a guy pop up on all kinds of streams, that's not the guy I gravitate I actually like helping out the smaller guys quite a bit and getting them a little publicity. So,
yeah. And Ben came super prepared, you
yeah,
know,
dude.
and I'm friends with Ben. I couldn't tell him who was coming on, but I think he kind of knows how I operate. So he had a very strong feeling that, you know, not going to build up something and not deliver, or try not to do that anyhow. But so he had an idea and he was very well prepared for that.
Well, are you ready to get into the topic? You did get some tips from Ken. He told us he wasn't going to be able to make it a little afternoon.
And then he tells you that he sent me some tips. Therefore, anything I say good, he gets the credit for. See how he
It's all
works,
right.
dude?
Yep. Well,
Slick.
we've got guys rolling in with guesses and stuff, and I put it on Facebook. This is one of my most influential baits, the modern era. You know, you're wearing a hat from a company that made a bait similar to this. Not that it's a bad bait, but I'm going to throw my first is the Bastrix hollow belly swim bait. Now, people are going to say swim baits have been around for a long time. Absolutely. But this bait is really unique in that it wasn't solid. It's hollow. And so you could rig it on a jig head. You could rig it on a weighted hook. And it spawned a ton of, you can say, knockoffs. You can say aspiring to be baits. Berkeley not only knocked it off once, they did it twice. They had their original hollow belly, and they discontinued. Then they come up with a revised version in power bait. True Bass has got one similar. There's all kinds of hollow bellies. There was the Hippo, and man, that thing caught fire. So when it first came out, it was kind of, hey, that's cool. That's a new swim bait. But then when Skeet Reese won at Lake Gunnersville with the 7-inch, it was like a whole new revolution. I mean, you had tons of companies. It got swim baits exposure in a different way. And I compare it to, when people say, oh, if you smoke that marijuana, you're going to start smoking crack. It's a gateway drug. Well, this was kind of crack for the swim bait game. People started throwing these hollow bellies, started catching fish, and they go, huh, well, I might try that bullshad now. Catch fish on bullshad. Well, I guess I'm going to buy one of these expensive glide baits. So that's one of the main reasons that I feel that hollow belly is the gateway. 6 Cents had a hollow belly too. That wasn't around very long. That was, I forgot the name, the Core or something like that. But, guys to this day, especially where I live around Kentucky Lake, they gravitated to those Bastrix. Man, we were selling hundreds of them, a week. And then those same guys now, they're throwing, big, giant Huddleston and stuff like that because it was an addicting bite. And honestly, you could get into swim baiting. You could have a 7-foot medium heavy rod, half-ounce jig head, and you go catch them. So that's one reason I think that's a very, very influential bait that I don't know if gets enough credit.
Yeah, you're right. Are guys still throwing them nearly as much? I mean, not nearly as much, but are still throwing them?
Yeah.
A little bit, right?
Right. So our lake, obviously, it kind of went down to crapper a little bit. But I know the guys at Gunnersville and Wheeler and Pickwick, they still throw them. Has the shine wore off? I don't know if it has I would say it has because
it had
now
a
you got
roll
a
to
lot
it.
of
It has roll to it, right?
yes,
like more so than a Kitech would have.
Correct. And I almost put Kitech in there, and I could probably make an argument for it.
Oh yeah.
Who
But
has
the
it
hollow
knocked
body
off?
was first, right?
Yeah. So where the Kitech really shined is when the A-Rig came out. That's how I feel like. When the A-Rig came out, that Kitech, people could buy a pack of 6, rig up an A-Rig, and there you go. And then Brian Thrift and all these other guys figured out, hey, I can put these on 1/8 ounce, 1/4 ounce ball heads, single swimmer, and smash.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were doing before the A-Rig. Throwing a little 2.8 or 3.3 in the wintertime around here.
Yeah, every guy that pours baits on Facebook's got a Kitech now.
Oh yeah.
I never understood why it's okay for a guy in their basement to knock off big companies, but if a bigger company makes something similar, don't buy from them. They're knockoff artists.
I was wondering that myself. I've had that same kind of conversation. Like, I mean, I don't know. Is it the haves and the have-nots? I mean, give me 1 second. I got a box of those hollow bodies over here somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Bobby Boss of the Bass Magic. I just had some on my whatnot. Those were real popular. Shadowlicious is still made. It's a really good hollow belly. A little bit thicker than the Bass Tricks, but
Money Minnow.
The Money Minnow. I got some of them too. Those are kind of sleepers. Trying to think who else might have made a. True Bass makes one now. There's a little thinner profile. Good bait. BTC got a box full.
Yeah, I mean they're mostly the old Barclays, and
yep, a little bit flatter.
A lot of kink tails in here.
That's why I never was a fan of putting them in those plain old boxes. I just kept them in the package in a box.
Yeah, they're hard to take in the boat and keep. You know what I mean?
Well, you can always boil them, put them in boiling water, dip them. No, I'm
gonna do a tumble salt real quick here.
Oh,
camera's on the wrong side. All right, I'm ready.
Good deal. All right, so I want to make this. A lot of people commented that the A-rig is the most influential bait.
Yep.
So here's my hot take. A-rig is not a bait. It is a rig. It does nothing if you throw it by itself. It's just 5 wires. The umbrella rig had been out for quite a long time in saltwater and striper fishing. And the guy that invented it, I think his last name was Potts. I think he started by putting off, he made this bass version, put grubs on it and whatnot. But in my opinion, a bait is a bait. A rig is a rig. You can't throw a Carolina rig without putting something on it. You can't put a drop shot out there without putting some kind of drop shot bait on it. So
right.
I don't feel
so it's disqualified.
I feel like the A rig is disqualified.
Yeah. Where the hell is Eric? You hear back from him?
I didn't. I messaged Eric on Instagram. I didn't hear back from him.
Yeah, when he hit me up at quarter of, he said he was going to jump on and he just had the spinning wheel of death. So he definitely has some Wi-Fi issues going on over there.
Yeah, I messaged him. All right, BTC.
Yes, sir.
What do you got?
Which one is this? It's got the.
Ooh. It almost looks like the tail of a trash fish.
It's not. It's just your regular hollow belly.
Oh. That is a fathead minnow. That was made by it was made by Reaction Strike.
Yes. You are correct.
Reason I just bought a random box of tackle the other day and it had some in there. They actually made a pink one that was really popular.
A pink one.
Mm-hmm.
You throw
pinky stinky.
What, for smallmouth?
I don't know. I've had good luck on a pink spinnerbait for smallmouth.
How about the pink worm?
I'm a merthiolate guy.
Yeah, it was always pink up here for us. I mean, once in a while with methiolate or yellow, banana yellow, but pink. And not just the trick worm, but a stick worm too, post spawn.
Right. I like a superfluid in bubble gum.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the guy digging into the baits. He knows.
There's a big bites version of it.
Oh yeah.
Big fluke. Yeah, something about that, man.
Yep. That net bait soft jerk bait's pretty underrated. A lot of guys don't talk about it, but it's pretty good. All right. What do you got for influential bait past decade? Something.
How about the Zoom horning toad?
Ooh. So
Right,
I've
that
been
kind of.
thinking.
Go ahead.
No, I was thinking about that. I couldn't remember exactly when it was made. I have to go back by my fishing memories. Like, when did I catch a fish on that? Who I was fishing with? And
I got
know I thought
04.
04? That would work.
Yeah, yeah. And
So,
my extensive research has led me to believe it was 2004 that it came out.
well, I don't think I can argue against that. Dude, how many companies are now making a soft toad? Especially with the buzz bait, put the toad on the buzz bait now.
Yep.
Big revolution in that bait. Like, they kind of slow down and then they go, oh, Jacob Wheeler's putting it on a buzz bait, or, seeing whoever throw it on their buzz bait. I'm going to do that. Now you pretty much sell them with a buzz bait.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. Let's see, off the top of my head, Gambler made a cane toad. Reaction Innovations made the Trixie Shark.
I never had them.
It's pretty
Trixie
cool bait.
Shark. Yeah.
Trixie Shark.
Yeah. The
Strike King's got like 10 variations of a toad. They got like a gurgling toad, a hackney toad, or some kind of frog. I found the other day Berkeley had a chigger toad.
Really?
Yeah. It's amazing what you find when you buy people's random tackle. They're just trying to get rid of it.
Do you buy lots?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started doing it. And I piece it out. It's kind of tough, to be honest with you. But,
yeah.
I'm looking to try, if I buy a lot, I look at it and go, okay, here's the baits I make my money back. Everything else is bonus. And I put this stuff for auction. It all starts at $1, so it's all by demand. Here's Tom Milks. Here's a good one. The Stanley Ribbit. I remember that was probably it come right after the Horny Toad. I remember they had they even did the Top Toad. See, I need to get my stuff where I can access it quick, like BTC. All my plastics are across the desk.
Yeah, I should have been more prepared.
No, you're
had
good.
These lined up. 1 second.
Hey guys, we got 105 people in here. I want to thank you very much. Make sure you smash the like button, and tomorrow night be sure to watch Ken and BTC on Bass After Dark.
That's
I actually know. I'm not going to give a spoiler, but I know somebody that may or may not be on there. That's all I know.
Oh yeah, we got loose lips out there, huh?
They said, come to my house and make sure my internet's good.
Ah, okay. Oh, right. Well, that made it obvious. Yeah, so there's our old horny toad buddy.
So what made that horny toad so good? There's a
there
lot
was nothing else doing it.
Yep.
Right?
Correct. I mean,
that was the first soft or first bait that you move quick across the top of the water,
Right. It's weedless. You could throw it in about anything.
Yeah. It's this one there.
There's another company called they're out of business now, called Seismic Lures. That made a really good one. Yep, there's old Ribbit.
There, that Ribbit.
I'm trying. Who else made a good for? Yeah, I like the Gambler Cane Toad quite a bit. That might be a Strike King. I want to think. I can't remember if Havoc, Berkeley Havoc had one. You had Zoom. Lots of good ones. NetBait had one as well, and it was kind of a flop. I would say, that's a really good one because no one guessed that on Instagram, Facebook, or anything. I kind of had it in the back of my mind. I was like, once we get a bunch of the mainstays out there, I'm going to bust this one out. but you went ahead and beat me to it. So
yeah, and I
kudos.
was just kind of going, chronologically. I don't recall if the hollow body frog came out first. I feel like these came first. Shoot, we got to Google that. Because it felt like when this bait came out, the Topwater frog bite, like, kind of made, gave us all access to fish that before that, for us, we were throwing, the Zoom speed worm, the cut
Yep.
tail worm, across the surface, back when when it was just a paddle and you had to cut the back,
Yep.
put the little slit in it, and then it was just turning that thing on the surface. Way back in the 80s, there was a Snatrix, I think it was called, or that was a company that made it. But there was a bait that had a hard head. It was a hard plastic snake head with a hook on the back, and then you would thread a long body on the back of it, and it was just, that head would hold it back, and you just had the tail going like that. I think that was called the Snatrix. But that goes back early 80s. But none of that stuff was the real deal for getting them, like the hollow body frog and
the horny toad. Basically, like you said, you got access to fish you couldn't normally catch. And yes, there may have been hollow belly frogs like the Snag Proof and the Bobby's Perfect Frog and stuff like that. But nothing was, you put it on a wide gap hook, you throw it out there, you reel it in. Most of your frogs were mat fishing or a few popping frogs at that time. Really good one, BTC. A lot of people in here that they're naming all kinds of stuff. Mark Edwards says the Raid Shad. The Raid Shad's an excellent bait, very underrated. However, there was a company that made called a salad spoon, which is
salad spoon. Yes.
Yep, salad spoon. That was a '90s bait. It was very similar to that Raid Shad, a little bit softer.
I got them somewhere.
I used to work for a guy, and he went and fished the Potomac, and he said, check these out. And he had these salad spoons, and he dipped all the tails chartreuse. I don't think he caught anything, but
did you call it the Potomac?
Yeah. Is it Potomac? Hey, bud, I'm from Kentucky. Just remember that.
That's a new one. I haven't heard that version of it. Where the hell them salad spoons at? Nah, not the Potomac.
Potomac.
All right, Epic E. Where's he at? Snatrix. That's what I got from him.
Gotcha.
So he's just watching the show.
Who is? Eric?
Eric, yeah.
Well, Eric, I'm sorry, man. I kind of feel bad. I finally sent Eric's care package. He's been waiting for years. Get him on here. I don't know what's going on. All right.
Yes.
I'll take the next turn. The most disrespected company in the industry. How many baits have been made based on this one? And I don't mean just the United States. They've been copied by a lot of Japanese companies too. The Sweet Beaver from Reaction.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When did that come out?
I want to think they came out around 2003, 2004. I remember when we first got these in the tackle shop I was working at, it was 2005-ish, and you could not keep them in stock. I mean, they were crazy. Since then, they've gone through so many different packages. I mean, Walmart wouldn't carry them because they had girls on the package.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's a true story. This I can't remember. This might be the second run of packaging. And they try to do this so it looked camo, but when you get up to it, it's actually a bunch of stripper girls mixed together to make the camouflage. Yes. And they said, you've got to change the names. We can't have Tramp Stamp and Honey Doo Doo and Hematoba and Main Vein. So on a bait called the Sweet Beaver.
They went for it, man.
Dude, so think about this. Not only did they change the flipping game, so many companies have a beaver bait now. I mean, they're still making beaver baits off that. And yep, Darrell Wilson says 2003, so it is 2023 still, so it slides in there. But yeah, Dirty Sanchez, and that's an epic color and a good one. But my point being, so many companies took that beaver and ran with it. That makes sense. And, but no one ever talks about them. I mean, is OG gets. And while I'm talking about reaction innovations, here's a sleeper. The Vixen.
Oh, yeah.
Is it the most influential? I don't know. It's up there. How many companies now have a walking topwater that's got a loud one knocker in it that didn't have before? I mean, River to Sea's got one. Sixth Sense has got one. They both look almost exactly the same. The Tackle guy is doing his thing.
Where's Zara Spook fall with that?
Well, Zara was out for a long time, but they did come out with that one knocker Spook a few years after the Vixen came out.
So just checking Ken Duke's notes here. The Zoom Horny Toad was 04. The Spro Bronzeye Frog, 05.
Yeah. Spro Bronzeye is a good one.
So it was the Horny Toad, I think, that kind of lit up the topwater slop bite or reignited it, and then the Bronzeye came out and everybody's got a frog.
Yep. Now everybody. So I remember watching the Ultimate Match Fishing with Joe Thomas, and they did it on Kentucky Lake. And Edwin Evers and I think it was Rojas were paired together. And that dude was slinging that Bronzeye around these yellow flowers. And I went, holy smokes. And I went and bought some. And a bunch of people seen similar stuff on Bassmaster or whatnot. And so the Spro Bronzeye, again, there was frogs out, but there wasn't a walking frog. And you can cross over the Bronzeye on mats. But guess what?
Oh, yeah.
Making one.
Oh, yeah.
And they're still making them. Like Berkeley come out with what they call it, the Swamp King, or I forgot what its name. But it's a pretty good one. Six Sense has got one. Strike King, the sexy frog. I'm trying to think.
Dude, there's a million frogs. Hold up a second.
That's one of those baits I buy a ton of and don't use very often.
It's because you're in the fishing industry.
Exactly.
There's like millions of versions. I remember up on Champlain putting a worm on the back of had a worm coming out of the back of an old snag proof.
Right.
But it's Champlain. Champlain in the 90s. Didn't matter what you throw. You got around them, you call them.
Ooh.
They weren't so finicky. These are like the backup frog boxes. Box of dead frogs. Let's see who can name them.
Oh, geez. Anybody name that frog?
Kevin will send you Epic Eric's box of goodies from 3 years ago.
It almost looks like a tackle sprinkler frog, but if you put a paddle tail on there instead of the worm.
Yeah, you know what's effed up about that? I don't know the answer.
That's all right.
So we're not gonna be able to tell if anybody got it right.
A couple guys are saying, and I think there's some truth to that Rojas was actually throwing the sumo frog before the Bronzeye, which is probably true. Actually, I think I know it's true. However, the Bronzeye kind of revolution, it brought a light to it, or else. And some of how it goes with anglers. If you're not sponsored by a company and you're sponsored by Spro, and they say, "Well, we'll just make you your own frog," it's probably where you're going to go with. And
yup. Look at this contraption.
Is that like a waking mouse? Is that a man's bait?
Dude, I have no idea. Optimum?
Optimum. So that's a JDM deal.
I think. Yeah. All kinds of bastard frogs.
Someone said it might be a jackal. Yeah, that looks like old snag proof there.
That's a snag proof. What do most guys do when you have like a really, really bad frog kill? You guys
Me, I'm
replacing
lazy.
legs?
I'll just throw them away. But you can do the rubber band trick where well, not rubber band, rubber skirt material, jig material. You can like pull it through with a wire and do that. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to throw them away.
Yeah, I've done that. I've got a couple.
That might be a good video for Ike and Ellie to do on his Instagram. It's quick tips in the bait room, which I watch all of them.
Yeah, you should do the one where he throws it out.
Yeah, here's a quick
The
tip on
honest
how
one.
to replace the legs for your frog.
Do your frogs end up like this? Here's what I do.
Exactly. Let's see.
Yeah. And there's Freddy's frog with the Velcro on his head.
Yeah. So I always heard old school guys did that, and then they, Freddie kind of interchanneled his OG and said, "Let's put some old school into a new frog." Great frog fisherman, good swim bait fisherman, Robans. Molix.
They were close, but it gets hung up too easy. But my God, when it's swimming, it gets bites, dude.
Eric know what I'm talking about. You ever seen a Depths Bass Risky frog? It's got a butt and it's got some wings on it.
Yeah. Yep.
It just goes
on the backside. Yep.
I'll do that thing. Oh.
Yep.
It catches.
Yes, it does.
And I feel like that Molix bait was basically that bait reverse engineered.
Yeah, and it gets absolutely bit. There's no need to make it look like a freaking beetle. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. That doesn't work. I don't know.
Where is Molix from? They're not U.S.
They're Italian. Yeah.
Did Boyd
it's the most un-Italian name too. There's no vowels at the end.
Needs an A on the end. Molix.
Yeah, Molicky.
Molicky. Yeah.
Molicky.
But again, back to your point, if that Spro Bronzi had never taken off like it did, will we be seeing these variations of these hollow belly frogs?
Eventually,
we'll be stuck with sumo snag proofs and man's mice and stuff like that.
man's mice, yeah.
Well, they had another bait called the Ghost, and so
the Ghost. I was just thinking of that.
You know what's wild is I'm not going to call out a bait company. I guess I am. Super NATO. That's a cool bait. I actually got a buddy who loves those.
Really?
Don't know how he ever hooks a bass, but he loves them. Which, to my point, the Ghost, and then Yum had the Money Hound, which was basically a spook / hollow belly frog, and they had that one hook in them. And man, bass will blow up on them. But good luck getting one to the boat. It's just like great practice bait. If you want to find some fish, don't want to hook up on them, throw that sucker around. Well, I noticed at ICAST this year, I think it was Snag Proof or someone, they come out with basically the same thing. And I'm like, I just said on Instagram, cool concept, but man, the hookup ratio has got to be awful on that. And I'm pretty sure I'm blocked now, but I'm just...
There was it's in my other frog box. I feel like looking for it. That was a single hook, but it kind of had a keeled weight on the bottom, and the hook kind of pivoted.
Right.
So it would get separation from the body. That had a good hookup ratio for the amount that I used it.
Yeah, the Spro still has a good hookup ratio. I mean, guys, we know how marketing is. We put the best frog. We built the frog around the hook. This is the best hook ever made. And then I throw them and I miss a fish first thing. I'm like, okay. There's good ones out there. Some of the JDM ones are sweet. Now we'll move on to our next one. We got to talk about it. I mean, I think actually this is probably the most influential one. It's probably the easiest one. Is a ChatterBait.
Yep.
I mean, you got guys putting ChatterBait blades on crankbaits now. Who would have thought of putting a hingeable lip? You got the Jabberjaw, the 6-inch axis. I was in Brad Knight's boat one time, and he said, "Check this out." He pulls out a spinnerbait, and it's got a ChatterBait blade on the front, and I'm laughing. I'm like, "Yeah, right, dude." He said, "No, dude." He pulls out like a Ziploc bag full of these things. He said, "Don't tell nobody." He said, "This is the deal." And he showed me.
Tell nobody.
Till now.
Yeah.
But dude, I remember the day I saw it. I was with Terry Bolton. Took me fishing, frog fishing, believe it or not, and Gerald Swindle. They were doing the ultimate match fishing again there on Kentucky Lake. He's like, "Hey Bolton, you ever seen this thing?" He flips in the boat. Terry's like, "What is that?" He says, "It's a chatterbait, and it's a bad son of a bitch." And so he flips it by the boat, and he starts reeling. His rod tips just. He said, "I'm telling you, in 10 years, this would be the hottest bait on the market." It didn't even take 10 years. It took like a year.
Yeah.
And I knew right then something was special about it.
Yeah, pretty much retired the spinnerbait.
It kind of did.
Kind of did.
Breaks my heart because I love throwing a spinnerbait. But
oh yeah. So tell me more about that chatterbait with blade on a spinnerbait.
So I don't have one, but basically we'll take a spinnerbait for example, and so it's just an accent spinnerbait, really good ones by the way. And they had a blade. Basically, the wire went through the blade, if I remember, and you tied on the blade here. So the blade was kind of like right here, and you tied on the blade, and it would sit there and do this deal. And your spinnerbait, the blades would still spin, but it had this almost zigzag-like action.
Really?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find one on Google real quick.
It's called Brad.
I know some people are making them. I think maybe Choo Choo Lures or something like that. But yeah.
And you saw it in the water? Looked amazing?
Yeah.
They get bit on it?
He said it got smashed. Let's see.
Interesting. Ooh.
Let's see.
Prepare for incoming.
Yeah, Brad might get on to me for this. I don't know. Probably not.
Not Brad, but
man, I know they're out there. I mean, I hate to call something ugly, but it's ugly, and it looks like somebody composed it on Facebook Marketplace just to make a couple of dollars. But if somebody knows what I'm talking about, put it in there. I've got one. It's a JDM one. It's in my house. Brown Bank Company sent me one, so they make them in Japan. Epic Eric says Zinks made one. I knew he'd know.
Why the hell ain't he on here?
I guess his internet's just interneting. It ain't. He must have got some Al Gore internet or something like that. Bass puzzle. But yeah, so think of ChatterBait. So Radlers made the original one, then Z-Man buys them out. And you can say what you want, brilliant move to patent that. Now, some people are mad because they sue everybody, but I mean, if I had a nice invention that I was going to sell millions of, I'd kind of want a patent on it too, which their patent's going to expire very soon.
Is it?
Yeah, I think they only got like 2 more years or a year left on it.
Oh, snap. Wow.
Yeah. So if that patent expires, I think you'll see jackhammers at $10, because then they can sell them over here and don't have to worry about getting sued.
Yeah.
But, we've got Topwaters with ChatterBait style blade like that Hellraiser. You got high dollar ones, jackhammer and above, JDM ones, and you got cheap ones.
This guy should still throw the original.
I know a lot of guys do.
Yeah, and swear by it. Cox swears by it. I don't know if he's bullshitting, but he says he throws.
Well, it would be hard for me to argue against John Cox when it comes to shallow water fishing.
It's true. Yep.
I mean, what am I to say that he's wrong?
No, I said I outfished him one time.
Really?
I'm 1 for 1 against John Cox.
I could believe that.
Yeah, I try to get that in every time I get a chance. Actually, it was sorry for anybody that's heard this. I try to tell it on every show that I'm on.
It's fun.
It was ICAST Cup. Cox, Keith Carson, Hunter Shryock, and me all on the same boat.
Jesus.
Thankfully, it was his one of his fat ass boats. The thing was
those big crest liners.
Oh my God, things like 12 feet wide.
Yeah,
and,
dude. You could bury somebody in there.
And I was the back. I was kind of like the end of the line, but I caught more, so I'll take that to my grave.
Well, years ago, I did catch an 8-pounder behind KVD during a photo shoot on a spinnerbait.
That's
and
badass,
so
dude.
KVD actually used the fish for his photo shoot. He bought my lunch. Hey, we're going to see if we can get Eric in here. Eric, can you hear us?
What up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, we'll put this on the 3-way.
Okay.
Let's see.
Let's roll. You big. You nice and juicy.
Yeah. Eric,
that'll be 4-way.
I don't know what's been happening with your internet.
Dude, I don't know, man. I'm on my cell phone, bro. Like, your internet and my internet do not like each other, man. Like, every time we try to stream, there's a problem. You know what I mean?
The cell phone looks better than the webcam.
How about that? Let me see if I can get it steady. I need a stand for my phone, right? I don't know how long my battery lasts.
What you do is you reach behind you and all those 3,700 boxes.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm building like a crankbait tower to put it on. So
that's what I used to have to do back in the OG Baitman days. I took a couple Bass Mafia 3,700 boxes, stacked them up.
Let's see. We'll put a Marty Burns box right here. Let's get a TK Stanley custom box right there. Yeah, I'm trying. That's not gonna work. But anyway, you can hear him falling, man. Yeah. Anyway, you guys are doing great, man. I love it. I had all sorts of notes and things, but hey, you talked about one bait, and I want to see if anybody can ID this bait. Let me get my finger out of the way and let me try to hold something up. That's not working either. Damn. All right. I don't know how to do it. Like. Here we go. All right. Who can name that bait and what was the inspiration and what did that bait spawn? You've already talked about the bait that kind of changed the world.
Rage Blade.
What bait did what bait?
Similar.
It's probably got to be one of the top 5 that changed the world. What is that bait? Who can name it? I can't even see the comments, so you're just gonna have to see.
That's fine.
That bait inspired a revolution. I'll give you a clue. Brian Thrift used that bait to like tear everybody up for years.
What?
Oh,
this?
Oh my God! Oh my gosh! He's alive. Looky here. We got Ken Duke in here.
Duke! Oh, we got a 4-way going now. What?
Hey, thanks for. I know we said something. He's like, I can't stand it. I've got to get on there and correct those guys.
Well, Ken Duke will know this bait. Ken, don't say it yet if you know it. But
it's a WS. How about that?
Oh yeah, man, he knows it, and he knows what spawned it. So you can't talk about baits that changed the game over the last 20 years if you don't know the history of what was their inspiration. So
we were just trying to do that and get away with it. Now you just blew our cover.
Hey, Eric,
Ken Duke, all great and powerful.
I think that bait mated with a deadly Dudley. Not a deadly Dudley. I'm sorry. It mated with a what what was the one? It had a fixed blade, and a jig body on the back.
It's right there behind me, but I can't drop my. I like it. I'm just stuck here with streaming on my phone.
Take your boxes,
No
Eric,
worries.
and
I gotta like how do I glue my phone to my screen? Like that's what I need. A piece
Take
of
your boxes,
Velcro.
stack them up, and on the last box, stagger it so it has a lip on it, and then lay your cell phone back.
True. I'm gonna totally run out of battery at some point, so I'm stuck. This is terrible. How about that? I guess you got to walk with me. Let's see if I can find that bait, because we'll look. You can get a really good look. Oh, no!
Good Lord, dude! I've never seen that side of your bait room. What in the world?
Look at all that.
Woo! Yeah, it's crazy, ain't it? Yeah. Anyway,
what was the name of that bait?
I know, right, dude? I'm gonna just put the phone here. I'm gonna lean it on some crankbait boxes and give you.
Nah, you got super glue, dude. Just glue it to something.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the bait Ken wants to see. I know it's up here on this wall. Where did it go? Oh, wait a minute. It's right here somewhere. But keep going. I'm just looking.
Well, are you going to reveal the one you just showed us?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's the Walker Special, and that spawned the ChatterBait BTC. That bait right there is what gave Ron Davis the inspiration for the ChatterBait. So not many people have the OG, but there it is.
And that's why I have you on.
How about that? What
was it called? The Walker Texas Predator?
Walker Special. I recommend anybody that's interested in the history of the ChatterBait watch Ken, I think it's the 20-foot deep special.
It is
Matt
Mark Jeffries
and Mark Jeffries.
Yep, it's terrific. Yeah, it's you look at the guys who were instrumental in getting that bait rolling, like Brian Thrift, Andy Montgomery, a number of guys from that part of the world, the Carolinas, and they would build these baits for Ron Davis, who was selling them, and they would work for the baits. They were that good. They were that unusual. They were that new.
Amazing.
They were that bad of businessmen.
Well, maybe so. But Thrift went out there, won a lot of money, and of course Brett Height has won a lot of money.
Oh wow, yeah.
On that bait.
Will work for ChatterBaits.
Yeah. And of course they sold the patent and everything to Z-Man. And what I admire so much, I think, about Z-Man is that Z-Man has managed to reinvent that bait every couple of years.
Yep.
Yeah, very much
give
so.
it new life. The jackhammer seems here to stay, but I still maintain, and I would love to get the take of everybody else in this group, that the original ChatterBait had the best action and would hunt the best.
Ooh, Ken. I only have one in a package, and it will not be thrown. I think Baxter showed it earlier. But if you're lucky enough, and there were some things about it. The things I know about it, and Ken, maybe, if you've ever looked at the original, this one.
I've got one still in the package, in fact. Yeah.
Right. In later generations, it had something to do, from what I know, and I've been a few myself in the day if you can, but it's really hard to do. That line tie. And the position of the line tie. There's a couple copies out of Japan that, in one I fell in love with that had actual hunting action built into it based on hydrodynamics. And that's why I love JDM stuff. They're engineers first and bait hacks, and they're always beautiful. But
they always had guys. Sorry, go ahead.
Guys would spend a lot of time bending that eye.
I don't know guys who bent the eye. I wasn't so much aware of that. I can tell you this, that you can throw one for just a little while and then take a look at it, one of the original ones, and then take a look at it and tell if it will hunt. What you have to look at is how much has that blade chewed up the lead head.
Yes, they get better as the time goes on.
Yeah, if it's chewing up the lead head, you've got one that's going to hunt like crazy. And of course, as Eric is referencing, that original ChatterBait where you're tying directly to the line tie with no other apparatus in between. That's the patent, really. That's what's holding that patent together. You'll notice that everybody else has to connect a different way. Not so much a split ring as
some other way.
Like for example, the Thunder Cricket. The Thunder Cricket has a hinge, so you're not tying directly to the. Let's see, what would I say? I need to think of the right terms here, but I'm losing it. But You're not tying directly to it as you are with a chatterbait.
Right.
It's also what helps a chatterbait take off.
I think they still had to pay though, didn't they? Maybe.
That's correct.
Well, Thunder Cricket is paying now, and I'm part of that. I believe part of that issue.
Whoa.
Dang it,
Whoa.
Ken.
What?
What did
Let's take that off screen.
Wow. Is
Guys,
the attorney
forget
coming out? Wow.
Forget that was said.
Let's also take off screen a conversation about the slobber knocker, shall we?
Oh,
That's the one That's what I meant.
This is getting good and juicy.
Not just the name. My I brought those home and I put an Instagram post up and she said they really called it the slobber knocker. I go, yeah. She said, really?
Wow, that's funny.
I said, yeah, wait till you see some of these names, the Reaction Innovations colors.
Oh. Yeah, the Reaction names, they should be not they're NSFW.
True.
I've noticed more companies though have started to go a little farther into the bait name in the last few years. I mean, I've seen Strike King put a few out there. I'm like, really? Who named that?
What, the him?
There's one that's the purple-headed monster or something like that.
Like,
No.
The purple helmeted warrior.
No, don't you do it, BTC. Don't you take it there.
BTC and I are very straight-laced. We don't
truly are.
We're not edgy. We don't do that.
No.
We're not the epic Erics of the world.
Why did this line tie suck so bad?
I can't see it.
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's like it looks like a crappie trolling rig, so that crappie guys put those on their bandits to troll.
I think they had some complaints that snap would come loose, so they fixed the wagon with that, right?
Yeah. That snap will bend out if you catch 40-inch redfish on it.
A lot of guys changed to the decoy egg snap, which you notice comes on some premium baits. So.
Yeah, so when Eric was talking about the hunting, my favorite jackhammer right now comes out of Japan. It's called Cold Shad. I don't know if I got one here. But it's a white with a little bit of gray in it. It's got some pink in it.
Yeah, but who makes it? You're talking about it's still
it's still a jackhammer. It's still a jackhammer. It's not the tungsten one.
Okay.
It's still jackhammer, but the blade is like a muted gray on it. Anyway, I catch a lot of fish on it. But you'll get one out of every three that you can't control the thing. It's just and
they got it. It's lightning in a bottle, man. There are ways to do it with other things, but this is a show about baits, not about bait hacks. So that will be reserved for. We're going to save them, and they will not be described. And you can turn things into hunting baits. Yes.
I want to get Eric's take on this. Eric, my take on the whole Japanese domestic market is that those guys will take what is a beautiful bait. They'll take what is an amazing bait in terms of design and engineering, and they'll add one feature too many that completely destroys the damn thing and makes it unworkable.
Well, you probably have a point because I have bought some dogs out of Japan. That dog won't hunt.
Yeah, that's a lot of that market to me. I mean, I really like the baits. My wife is Japanese, so occasionally I get to go over there.
You get a free pass. You can say whatever you want.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
Hey, I'll put a parental advisory up on the show. So
bait designers in Japan, and Ken, I'm sure you know this, they are heralded and regarded. Like they're revered and honored.
Yuki
you know their
Ito
names.
And those guys, they are. And some of them are star craving mad. But I really
true, right?
They are, and I really enjoy them. Show me somebody who's passionate about something, and I'm in. I'm sold.
I'm with you right there. I have a lot of respect for some of the things they think about and do, but you're right, it can go overboard, no question about it.
Those guys think out of the box too much sometimes, but
too much. Yeah, but not everyone's going to hit. Not every joke's going to land.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just, that's a part of it.
Look, I think that goes with a lot of companies too. And that's not a knock on, look, 6 Cents, I'm sponsored by them. They've had a few that just aren't a hit with me. No big deal. If I don't like something, I don't talk about it.
I'm curious. I'm going to do a test. I mean, this is on the bait talk, but We've talked about some iconic baits and the top ones, but can anyone on this stream in the comments name an American bait designer? Ken Duke, I know you can, but how many people in the chat know who designed the baits for the ones that you fish? You know the company names.
David Fritz.
Do you know the bait designer? That's a perfect one, but that's
Sweet
not fair
Beaver.
because we just
Andre Moore.
did he design it?
As far as I know, he did.
And by the way, it wasn't a question for the panelists; it was for the chat.
I know, but we had to get,
Brian,
mine in.
Baxter, well, yeah, all right.
Well, there's still more baits to go.
Yeah, we've only listed 4 or 5. There's got to be more.
So are you saying that we're not as egotistical over here, E?
No. I just wondered if anybody in the chat knew the designers behind the baits. In Japan, they're very well known.
Baxter, you mentioned the tungsten jackhammer.
Yeah, that's
Japan. The tungsten jack. Yeah. What do you got to say about it?
I don't own any.
Okay. It's
I'll
actually
break off enough
jackhammer
regular
goes for?
jackhammers. I don't need to break off tungsten ones. I'll be straight honest with you. I like the tungsten thunder cricket. I can get it here. It's got.
I have them.
In it.
The head on it. The head on a 1/2 ounce tungsten jackhammer is slightly bigger than the head on a regular 1/2 ounce jackhammer.
What?
Yup.
Why is that? That's
because
weird.
it's tungsten powder and it's not designed to be a tungsten bait that has a smaller head. It's because of anti-lead laws in Japan.
Interesting.
Does Craig Powers count as a U.S. bait designer?
Well, he sure does because he designed a balsa line of baits. But where did he get his inspiration?
Sonny McFarlane.
Japan.
And training, right? Yeah.
Here's a good one. Phil Marks passed
late
away.
great.
Late great Phil Marks. Which leads us into this, Ken.
Yes, sir.
They commented on Facebook, got it on Instagram. The Strike King 6XD.
That was on my list.
Even the 10XD, which is on my list.
Definitely.
I think the XD series is one of the most influential bait series of the last 2 decades. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, when I thought I was going to be able to join you earlier, I made a list.
I did.
Oh,
the baits that I thought I shared.
How
the
much
list
of your
BTC.
list have we knocked out yet? BTC came in hot. I mean, he had 2.
That was all me. That was all me.
That was all him. He doesn't need me. He reminds me of that every day.
Yeah. So what was cool about that 6XD, you know, Kentucky Lake Barkley, we're cranking. We love it. It was in the heyday, you know, when 18 to 24 pound limits were the standard. And I remember KVD, so it wins his tournament on it. My dad actually had a stroke during that tournament, and I'd come back, and I was looking on his boat, and he had all 6XDs, and he had one. I said, well, what's up with this one? He goes, we hadn't released that one yet. That's what I actually won a tournament on. And it was a chartreuse sexy shad. But, dude, those things flew off the shelf. But the cool thing about 6XD, in my opinion, is for a deep crankbait, it wouldn't wear your elbow off all day. It dove pretty quick. It just did not pull that hard. I mean, the Rapala DT series had been out for a few years. And, you know, if we went pre-2000, pre-20 years, I would put the DT series in there as well because a lot of companies try to make a DT6, DT10, but the theory on the 6XD, 5XD, 10XD, same style body for the most part. But when you went in and you want to go deep cranking, you could go to your local tackle shop and you could buy a 5XD, a 6XD, and 10XD, spend $25, and you hit every depth right there for deep cranking.
Yeah, you know, I live in Florida where you're not allowed to own anything more than like what would be a wake bait. So I don't have as put in the miles on the deep diving crankbaits like that. But I think a lot of that has to do with your rod and reel. And because I know you can get some pretty amazing performance out of some other baits. And it's hard to beat like the old school Lew's BB1N or the Lew's stuff in that same series today. David Fritz has it going on and always has in terms of that sort of stuff. But yeah, the 6XD has probably sold as many deep diving crankbaits as anything. Certainly the DT series has been great. And now the new Fritz side stuff is the next generation of massive crankbaits, that's killing it out there.
So you could put the Fritz side just like on the cusp, because one thing it's doing is making flat sides cool again. Me and Eric, we love flat sides, but they're getting really popular now.
I think it made all your other flat sides irrelevant. I mean,
that's your next best after dark war. Wood versus plastic, and just let it rip. I'm not going to
starting at the Eric.
Oh no!
I'll be right back, guys. I'll let y'all slander the wood flat side.
No! You guys get a bait maker on, and then somebody who you pick a panel. It won't be me, but I'm watching. And
no, it's going to be you, and you're going to be there, and I'm not going to tell you what the topic is till we're live.
No way! I'm not coming on for that.
You're on. You're in.
Can't do it.
Yeah, BTC had the idea the other day that we would just invite occasionally, like once every few months, we would just invite guests on and not tell them what the topic was, and then just see where it goes.
Oh, that's brutal.
We even have a special list of people who we think cannot stay on topic no matter what we do, so it doesn't matter. And you're not on that list, Eric. You stay on topic beautifully.
Well, thank you, Ken.
We even have a show planned for our last show.
No.
Yes, we do. Next week, we don't know.
I love it. That's awesome.
Thank you again so much, Eric. We're turning Baitman TV into a satellite episode of Smallmouth Crush and Bass After Dark. Apologies to Kevin over here.
Well, Kevin is driving the list that he's gone. So, I mean, he's taking a beverage break. That's fine.
Whatever happens to him now, he deserves, I think.
Yep. Sean, I saw your comment. Officially never going to be on again. No way. One time, that was good. It was a nice and happy conversation, and it just fit my style perfectly, man. That's me.
No, we got plans for you. Your name pops up all the time when we're talking show concepts.
No.
Most often, and this is I think quite a compliment to you, sir. In the situations where we have a real opportunity to enlighten people on some things.
Oh wow!
Because you're so good at that. Not so much on an episode where it might involve fisticuffs.
Yeah. I would not enjoy those as much as just trying to talk through a topic. But awesome, man. Wow, you have a list. I have a list. I've been listening and trying to comment.
Did Travis give you a hard time about it?
Not at all.
Wait till he finds out you're on this one tonight.
He sabotaged my internet, somebody said.
Are you sure this is not the big reset tonight?
It could be. Finally's here. It's the simulacrum, whatever that purple. And you guys are all purple.
I can.
Now you guys have already talked about one entry that came in about 2004, and that was the ChatterBait. Did you talk about? Okay, there we go.
So Bandit Flat Max. We talk about Fritz side. Dude, I don't know what this bait's worth. I saw one sell on eBay for $100, but
that is,
yeah,
interesting.
I don't know, man. Like, I got a box of wood flat sides, nothing like Eric has, or probably most of the people watching the show. Definitely more than Ken. But
I got nothing.
I don't know. I feel like you could get away with just having the Fritz sides. Not saying that there's not days in cold water where the wood baits, I'm a big believer in that for sure. But they certainly won't cast like a Fritz side will. You know what I mean?
So much to talk about.
Yeah.
Well,
we won't go into that because I'm stepping on your toes with that conversation, Eric. I know.
No, not at all. But there's so much. You're hitting on some good stuff. You really are. A lot to talk about there.
I like the Fritz side. I'm not going to hate on it. I've got a box full of them.
Nobody's hating on it. No, we're talking about just a great conversation.
You have to have
John Cox won a tournament on it, and he don't even know how to throw a crankbait.
Exactly. So
it's like the Senko of crankbaits.
Yeah, it's like the DT series is wood, So interesting. One of the most iconic baits ever made. So anyway, food for thought, and good discussion. That's another episode.
Speaking of wood Fritz side, though, BTC, I'm going to do it. I mean, you brought it up.
What have you done, BTC?
This is another Fritz designed bait. It's got a Rapala DT flat.
Oh yeah, it's beauty.
So basically, the Berkeley Fritz side, he improved upon the DT flat, one of my favorite
I
baits.
thought that was a pose for a minute.
No, sir.
Looks a lot
DT
like it.
flat was designed by Fritz, and he took it,
Sleeper.
went to Berkeley, made a Fritz side, made
Sleeper.
it better.
Sleeper.
So, again,
The DT
Fritz,
flat any
great
good?
bait. DT flat is really good.
Let
That's
me
why I
ask
got
you
like
guys this:
20 of them.
we're talking crankbaits, and here's a crankbait I do throw on spinning gear quite often. I will sometimes
Yes.
around here throw a small shad wrap. Will any of these crankbaits we're talking about
I'll
here
need to start.
tonight, the XD, the Fritz side, the all that stuff, will any of them ever equal the impact of the shad wrap?
Ooh, great question.
Globally, I don't think so.
Because I think of the shad wrap as just one of the iconic baits of the last 50 years.
Oh yeah.
You gotta have the ones from Finland with the scales that run down the side. That's what Menendez told me the other day. He said they gotta have scales, and they gotta be from Finland. I'm like, what?
It's gotta say Finland on the lip.
Has Menendez ever caught a fish? Are you sure? Are you talking about the guy I know?
I'm at a flea market sending him photos of a Strike King bait and just trying to make sure I got the right thing because I'm gonna resell it. And he's like, "What? Are those shad wraps in the background?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "If they say Finland on them, grab them." I'm like, "All right, whatever, you know." But he's he wants the Finlands. He said, "You gotta have the scales that kind of slowly fade down the sides." I'm like, man, I don't really think the bass is getting that close to look at those little scales, but he swears it's because the action. I don't know.
We make it so complicated, but the Mark Menendez I know, all he knows about bass is that they're hard to catch. Are we talking about?
True too.
I love Mark Menendez. He's one of the best people in the game. He is awesome.
Yes.
He is smart. He is outspoken. He is fabulous. Huge Mark Menendez fan. But I got to give him a hard time.
Dude, I give him a hard time a lot. He gives me an even harder time. So, but you talk about a stressed out guy when it's time to go film a TV show. If we ain't caught a bass in 10 minutes, he's like, man, I hope we get this done. I'm like, dude, your line's barely got water on it. It's gonna happen, Mark. We've had some good ones this year. I meant to ask you, Ken, if you were listening earlier, am I off base by saying that a rig is not a bait?
Well, you're absolutely right. It's a rigging. It's a rigging. It's like saying, when they outlawed the Alabama rig, it was akin to outlawing the Texas rig. It was just a rigging. The baits are the soft plastic swim baits or whatever you put on the arms. So I don't disagree with that at all. But I will say that the Alabama rig has had a significant impact in the sport over the last 20 years. And it should have had a much greater impact, but a bunch of cowards on the tournament trail banned it.
Wow.
Did I say that loud enough? Cowards.
Do you think it's because of the state-to-state regulations on you can have so many arms, so many hooks? They just like, we don't want to mess with that.
No, that's not why they did it at all. As a matter of fact, I'll jump out here. I bet BTC and Eric will agree with me on this. Kevin, I think you probably will too.
Sure.
If the patent on the Alabama rig had been owned by someone other than Andy Poss and Man's Bait Company, if it had been owned by Strike King, by Pure Fishing, by Pradco, they would have never banned it. They wouldn't have had the guts, they wouldn't have had the balls, and they wouldn't have had the pressure on Bass's throat to cancel it. Or FLW's throat.
I'm not going to say you're wrong.
I love it. That's truth right there. I mean,
well, if it was Pradco, it fell apart. So, I mean,
drop the mic moment.
So there's made one of the most popular ones.
Oh yeah, the Flash Mob. Junior. They do fall apart.
I don't. It's a rig I don't throw much, but anyway, that was the problem with the Alabama rig. You had guys coming out of the woodwork saying, "Oh, the fish can't resist it." Well, bull. Fish can resist anything, and that forward-facing sonar is showing us they can resist anything we throw at them.
I promise you, they resist a lot of what I throw. You know, sometimes it's not the arrow, it's the archer.
Ooh,
oh, that's so true, so true. Because I'm pretty sure if you rig an Alabama rig with tennis shoes, and you give it to Kevin Van Dam, and you give it to me with the finest swim baits in the world, oh, I like that. Van Dam's going to beat me. But anyway, a lot of cowards killed that. Look at that glide bait go.
That's just setting up the next maybe bait because maybe it deserves some discussion. as one of the top things that has influenced the game.
So you're talking about an individual lure.
So their mistake was
not
patenting it.
Type.
A category, glide baits, big baits, glide baits, yes.
If they didn't patent it, they may have made a lot more money.
Well, if they hadn't, I don't know about that. I think that.
I mean, in hindsight.
Well, here's what he should have done, in my opinion. I told him this right after it hit. Wow. I told Andy Poss this. I said, nail down your patent, sell it to the highest bidder now. Wow. Because if you don't, what's going to happen is a big company is going to be able to make it faster than you can make. Because he's making them at his kitchen table in his garage, basically. They're going to make it faster than you can make it. They're going to distribute it better than you can make it. They're going to make it cheaper than you can make it. And by the time it hits the market, everybody's going to think they invented it because the first one they ever saw was by the big company.
Yes.
So there are so many barriers to entry for a little guy. And if the little guy has no protection, he's just dead, and they ate his lunch. And
how does he patent something that's existed for decades before him?
Yeah,
it existed decades before him as a trolling rig. And I'm not sure exactly what is the real linchpin of that patent, but of course it was a lot lighter. I'm sure it was had something to do with the configuration and the wiring. I'm not sure exactly, but that showed you how easy it was to rip off, because as soon as it was out there, you had companies like Pradco, like Picasso, like a bunch of others that were making them left and right with impunity.
A-rigs.
What's that?
It seems like that's all Picasso does is launch a new A-rig every month.
Well, they've got the biggest chandelier in the game, as I recall. That thing is
that's huge.
It's a lighting fixture is what that is.
Then you had guys with a ChatterBait on it.
Somebody in the comments says there's an A-rig with a ChatterBait blade on there.
Can you imagine putting?
I've put one with. I've thrown it before with a ChatterBait on there. One of the 5 back when they first came out. I was messing with it. It just took the A-rig and shook it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you put 5 on there, you'd probably loosen all your fillings. I mean, can you imagine?
Oh, that's funny.
I've never done that.
I caught my first and only double on it, and then casted it off on the next cast.
I took 20 minutes to rig one up, and it was like a chandelier, and then properly snagged it in a brush pile first cast. I was like, I'm never throwing one again. I couldn't take it.
Ever rigged up
$30 down the drain. I was sick to my stomach.
First one I ever rigged up, I took my dad with me. This thing had just been out for 3 weeks. Dan Moorhead just won the Strand Championship on Kentucky Lake on it. So I'm in the canal. It connects Barkley, Kentucky Lakes. I got this thing rigged up. I'm on a 65-pound braid. Conk. Braid breaks. Lost my rig. $30.
Oh, it's just brutal.
You know, I remember talking to Andy Poss right after Elias won that FLW tournament, and he told me he throws it on 100-pound braid.
Oh my God! Could tow a boat with that.
I'm glad they outlawed it. Now that
are you really?
Why? Only because the 100-pound braid thing.
I got you.
That was one guy's choice. I mean, there were guys throwing it on 15-pound mono too.
Listen, he went too far.
Well, here's what I don't like about banning anything. But especially a lure, because banning a lure is just stupid. These fish adapt to whatever we do in terms of baits. I think they adapt to anything we do. Secondarily, when you take a bait or a rig like that and you ban it from major tournament competition, you're not just saying these anglers can't use it. You're saying the public will never read about it or hear about it through major outlets ever again. And that's exactly what happened. So this thing could be fabulous for Joe Public, who wants to go out there with his 15-year-old son and have kind of an easy day of it. Present a bunch of baits to a bunch of fish, catch them, have a good time. Maybe it makes the experience simpler and more productive for him. But you've just taken it away from him because now he doesn't hear about it or see it.
Here's where you're wrong. All right? Okay. Because that guy's going to be standing on the bank with his 100-pound braid, get snagged, and then everybody's got to deal with 150 yards, 100-pound braid running across the middle of the lake. They should ban braid from anybody standing on the bank.
I've lost some
Touche,
good
sir.
crankbaits
But
to
Brian,
braid on the bank.
Touche.
You ain't wrong. I mean, a lot of the good
Oh.
cranking areas now are just littered with it.
Oh, my God.
It's made it tough. There should be some braid snagging cleaning tool that you could just roll it through there with a rake. It's crazy. There's a lot in the water.
You know, it's
Biodegradable.
You said
Okay,
that
you win.
you said about people would forget about it, they wouldn't know about it, which I agree with. But then you got this thing that's really popular the last few years called YouTube. And this guy named Ben Milliken goes out and catches a 70-pound limit in Texas.
Yeah.
I just happened to be there. I actually called Eric when he caught it. And the only way, like, dude, you cannot believe what these guys just caught. The A-rig caught fire again. You know,
You're not wrong about that.
You ain't wrong.
That is a good point.
You ain't wrong.
All right, we'll get off the
when
A-rig.
the ban happened,
yeah.
YouTube wasn't what it is now. But
No,
true.
Every Josh Jones in the country goes to
every
a
Tom
popular
Josh,
lake.
Josh.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, so I was debating on putting this one up, Ken. Influential bait. Maybe not copied as far as style, but the way it's fished. So companies started making baits for this style. Biffle bug.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
But you know, you got companies now that are, hey, this is for swing head style baits. Kind of a creature bait, you know. It got some beaver vibes. It's got a lizard vibe.
Yeah, it got
Definitely
a lot of
a beaver
things going
vibe.
on. It's a
very
mashup.
versatile.
It's a fusion bait.
It's very versatile, and of course you can take almost any configuration. Pinch off the tail, pinch off some of the legs, and you got a buzzbait trailer, you got a jig trailer, you got something for the hard head. Yeah, that's been an impactful bait, but
I don't know if it's got the staying power of some of the other ones we've mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it does. But how much of that is due to it being made by LaRue and not a larger manufacturer?
That's true.
Interesting.
But I do think it's been an impactful bait, and you know what I don't understand is how many big name pros have never thrown a hard head and biffle bug style rig. It's shocking.
I bet a lot of them.
I don't throw it
And
much.
you know, if I live somewhere other than Florida where there are no rocks in Florida, basically.
There's shell beds.
Shells.
There's shell beds. That's true. That's a good point. But I got better things to throw at shell bed. I got other things I throw at shell beds.
I gotcha.
Better, just other things. But yeah, it's such an amazing technique, and it works. And I've been in the back of Tommy Biffle's boat and watched him whack them on that rig, and it's really impressive.
Very interesting.
And it's another one of those easy methods. You truly just chunk it out there and you wind it back. You just wind it back at the fastest speed you can to maintain bottom contact.
I was always told it's like a soft plastic crankbait.
Yeah,
that is exactly right. When you talk to Biffle about it, I've done a couple of stories with Biffle on it, one for Bass Times, one for somewhere else. But yeah, he's fishing it like a crankbait, and it has dominated his fishing in the last few years. He doesn't do a ton of pitching and flipping anymore. He's mostly throwing that Biffle bug and hardhead.
That's interesting because like guys here, they buy the Biffle heads to flip with. I always thought it was interesting to buy them, and we're flipping them in the bushes. So they can flip it, and then they just reel it out there. So if you don't get bit on that initial fall, you just reel it out from the bushes. And so, man, a lot of fish, they follow it out there and eat it. So
makes a lot of sense. I would think that swing hook would maybe get them in trouble more often. Yeah. But I don't know.
And the football head.
There are some versions out there. Punisher Lures used to make one where the hook was connected by a split ring and wasn't attached hook eye to the wire. And I always thought, well, that's cool because now I can change and use whatever hook I want to use.
Yes, very much so. There's a few more like it now.
Yeah,
yep.
Are there? Strike King did like the football head. You just bought the swing head and had the clip where you could put whatever hook you wanted to on there.
And word to the wise: if you actually catch a fish, do not grab that below the swing head because that little curly cue that allows you to put whatever hook you want on it will jam into your finger with a striper attached to the other end and make you bleed badly. That thing is just FYI. I did that.
That's the voice of experience. Yeah.
It hurt.
All right, Ken, what is something on your let's let BTC go.
Yeah, one more thing. I I'd seen a rig like that where the weight actually sat on a wire 2-3 inches below, so it kept the bait up off the bottom,
like a Tokyo rig kind of thing.
like a Tokyo rig, exactly like a Tokyo rig. This is 5 years or so before the Tokyo rig came around, and it was a guy I know from the podcast. Somebody who watched them sent it to me. He was making them, Oklahoma guy, and wire about that long and put the weight down there. But he was doing it like it was a biffle head and cranking it
like a Lindy
just
rig.
kept the bait up. I don't know.
I wonder if that might have been the same guy who created that style of fishing, because even though Tommy has been kind of the poster child of that method, he freely admits he didn't create it. He said a buddy of his created it, told him about it, tried to get him to use it and try it, but he didn't for several years before he finally picked it up.
He was too busy flipping and winning.
Yeah, well, good point.
Yeah.
So you said he reels it in really fast, huh?
Yeah, his goal is to
keep bottom contact, though.
Is maintain bottom contact. So he throws it out there, usually on about 20-pound fluoro and a flip and pitching rod almost, and then he points the rod right at the bait, and he's cranking. He's using about a 7-to-1 gear ratio, and he's trying to maintain bottom contact and go as fast as he can, because it'll hit a rock and bounce and go crazy and
trigger a strike.
Battisti says, Terry, he said the swing head was invented in the 1960s.
How about that?
Whereas the bait, the biffle bug style bait itself, that was a 2005, 2006-ish deal.
Right.
Free love and swinging baits.
Free love and swinging baits.
And Terry, Terry in the 60s was a California hippie, so he would know.
Yeah.
He was probably high.
He was way high.
Put it in reverse, Terry.
Back up, Terry.
What are you doing? Oh, what a great
Terry, don't bogart my soft baits.
All right, so anything on your list that we didn't talk about already, Ken?
I'm not sure. I'm assuming you guys.
Hold on, let me check my version of it.
In 2004 was when Zoom came out with the horny toad. Have you guys talked about that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I covered that.
This one just makes me angry, but the Whopper Plopper. Did you guys talk about the plopper?
I didn't, because I'm anti-Whopper Plopper being a new bait.
Well, Whopper Plopper did come up in that era we're talking about, but the problem is the Whopper Plopper is a knockoff of a bait called the Roberts Mud Puppy, which was invented in 1921 and has been made continuously by hand by the same company since 1921 in Wisconsin. It was a muskie bait.
Muskie bait, right?
Yeah.
Poe's actually made one too.
Did they?
For muskie fishing. Yep.
But yeah, you got to go back to 1921 before you when you get the first plopper.
I did not know that.
2005 is when Spro came out with a bronzai frog. So I'm sure you guys talked about that one.
Hello, buddy. Wait a minute. I got to show the ghost just because somebody mentioned it.
There you go.
See, that hook's not too bad, but
I changed it. There's way too. Yeah, you would get like all sorts of Yeah, it was the old bronze hook, but I said, you know what? Maybe I can get a hook to fit, and that was what I did. So anyway, it's a Gami, I think.
Snag Proof's got that new one. It looks just like a Bose Walker. And you're not going to catch a fish on that. You're going to get blow-ups and be pissed off you can't get them in your boat.
Money hound. Anyway, keep going.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going to mention what may be the newest entry in this category, although its impact is yet to be seen, and I think its impact moving forward is going to be sketchy. And that is baits like the jig heads, like the Smeltonator by Northland, where it's designed not only to serve the purpose as a jig head, but also to be particularly reflective for forward-facing sonar. Now, here's why I think that those styles are going to be less impactful moving forward than a lot of these companies may hope. And that is that at the same pace they're advancing bait reflectiveness, Humminbird, Garmin, and Lowrance are moving way faster than them. So it will not have to be so reflective in the near future. So even though I think it's cool that Northland and others are doing stuff like the Smeltinator, I think that the other technology will quickly advance so that those kind of efforts won't be necessary.
Interesting.
I get it.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
I hear what you're saying.
The technology's improving faster than they can improve the technology in the baits.
I believe that. Yeah.
So my question on this on forward-facing sonar, I work with.
Whoa! Don't go there.
I'm forward-facing.
Don't do it.
But if you're talking about baits, why are we not putting metal flake in the paints of baits?
What are you kidding me? We are. I mean, look at that pogo shed. Just take yourself some glitter nail polish and doctor it up, bros. I mean, come on.
Some real metal.
You don't need a company to do that. Just get yourself some fat glitter at the craft store and, paint a little wet coat of Sally Hansen on it and dump it on there and then be done with it. It's
fat, wet like Sally Hansen.
I said
it. Go to Ulta Beauty with my wife one day, and she's looking at nail polish and said, "That stuff there's good." She's like, "How do you know?" I was like, "Eric uses it on his crankbaits," and she's just
Hell yeah. Yeah, you can doctor up any crankbait. You can take a plain shad crankbait and just put some metal flake on. It's got to work. It's made out of metal.
Well, are you guys familiar with a product called Bait Pop?
Sure.
Yeah.
Bait Pop is exactly that, but it's in a gel form. So you don't have to go to the trouble of painting. You smear some of that on your lure, and it is instantly more reflective. And by the way, it was created by the same guy who gave us fish formula 40 years ago.
What's interesting to me is I've never had the times that I have tested like forward facing with Travis because he uses it. You can see a shad shaped worm. Like it's that big, there's no metal in it. Is it marketing or is it for real? I don't know. I'm not sold on it.
I think this Bait Pop stuff is for real. I think that, like I said, I think the technology will soon make that kind of stuff unnecessary. But yeah, the guy who invented fish formula back in the 80s, he was a dentist. His name is David Beth Shears.
Yeah.
He's behind this Bait Pop stuff. And because he reintroduced because he introduced Bait Pop and now is suddenly in the need to distribute this fishing product, he's decided to bring fish formula back. Yep. So the stuff that those of us old enough to remember used to buy in the 80s to spray on all our baits, like fish formula with sparkle scales. You remember that, Eric?
Bass tournament I ever went to, I was in diapers. It was hot. It was in August. My dad took me Paris, Tennessee. They used to have a huge tournament called the Fish Formula Tournament.
There you go.
Put that on, and I've got pictures somewhere.
Oh my gosh!
Rick Clun, the goat, holding a baby Baitman in diapers. Hot as hell.
That's cool.
Stunk. And I got one with Guy Aker too.
Dang.
That is cool. You're going to give Epic Eric an idea here. He's going to dress in diapers and he's going to go to the Bassmaster Classic and see if Bill Dance will hold him.
Oh no!
I will take the picture, Eric. I will take the picture.
No, not happening. Not unless BTC joins me.
We start in diapers and we end up there.
No,
I'm pretty sure they had a glow formula too, where you could spray it on and it would make your bait.
That was Chum and Rub.
Chum and Rub.
Right? Chum and Rub had a sparkle scale and a glow. Does nobody remember Chum and Rub?
I just remember the sparkle scale would jam the spray.
Oh, for sure. I worked like thinking, 3
what are they doing to me here? This is
oh man.
Nobody remembers Chum and Rub. It came in a lipstick container, like a chapstick. Eric?
Oh yeah.
I remember the Mega Strike.
Something.
Yeah. But I there was a couple different companies that made it because I've made the mistake of thinking it was my chapstick and put a little shadow on my lip.
Well, this was Chum and Rub. Chum and Rub.
Have y'all looked in the scent area in a big box store these days, like a Bass Pro Shops? Is about as big as your laptop. It's tiny. There's nothing in there. And all those products you can tell none of those products have been touched in 20, 25 years for the most part. It's kind of crazy. But there are some that have made a big comeback,
Very true.
American Bait
another.
Bait Fuel, which looks exactly like like
Sugar
Berkeley
water.
Strike.
Hey, another show. Does scent really work?
I'm just gonna be honest. This is a
Does
total
scent
placebo
matter?
effect.
So
What do you got? What do you got
What's that,
back,
Kevin?
I feel like bait fuel is a total placebo effect. So the whole thing about this was now that Eric's got the good stuff. This was supposed to. It wasn't a scent. It was a bait enhancer. The fish couldn't smell it, but when they bit, they wouldn't let go. But now they're advertising it leaves a like chum slick and all this. So what are you? Are you a scent? Are you? I don't know. I just don't know if it makes a difference.
They have some heavy hitter scientists behind bait fuel, and I don't know that I'm literate enough to tell you about it. And Epic Eric is reminding me of a day I spent in the Berkeley labs with Dr. Keith Jones, the guy who invented power bait and has been instrumental in so many of the developments that Berkeley made through the years. And he had, and actually the guy who now runs that same lab, a terrific guy named Mark Sexton, they have this area where they have tanks with small bass in them and larger size bass too. But there's a cabinet and it's full of every scent on the market that you could ever imagine, including ones that haven't been made for a while. And they welcome you to pick your favorite and spray a little cotton ball. It's tiny, size of a pencil eraser. And you soak it up in that stuff, and then you throw it in the tank, and the bass will immediately jump up there to take a look at it. Once in a while, they'll inhale it and then blow it right back out. And then they take one and they squirt it with a little power bait. And the fish not only grabs the cotton ball, but he eats it.
They don't let go.
They don't let go.
I could tell you the original power bait, the original.
Yes.
They screwed it up when they went tournament strength and they never recovered with power bait. But those original power bait worms, pre-Senko, those fish, they would have it gutted. Like if you didn't detect the strike and set the hook, it was in the gullet.
Isn't that crazy?
I got
That
a
shit
bunch
works.
of them BTC. Should I send them your way? I think the red shad.
Oh, that was my
Which
first power
worm?
used. Something
Old school power bait.
When did it come out?
The 7-inch worm or the
Ken?
4-inch?
The 7-inch power worm. When did it come out? Ken, what year? Do you remember? Because it was the year I was with Glenn Peacock on the Potomac throwing it.
We need an answer, Ken.
I don't know. What is that? 83, 84?
That's the first package I bought at Walmart. If that's the true date, throwing it with Glenn Peacock, and both of us were like, that was unbelievable. Like how they held on, like Brian's talking about.
Oh yeah.
One of my best days. Red shad was the color Baxter.
Yep. The black
Kmart.
or chartreuse tail was actually 2-piece. They glued the chartreuse tail on.
Yeah.
Red shad was all I needed on my rivers.
It's almost
Eric, I'm just guessing on the date, but does that sound
no.
about right to you?
I feel like that's what I had to ask you because I know it was a long time. Think about 87. That's 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
40
I'm 38.
years ago?
I just turned 38, and I was born in 85.
Boo.
I got T-shirts older than you.
You ain't old enough.
All right, I got it.
Your youth offends me.
I got a thing to get it back on the. Oh my god, I love that.
Oh, dude, that's old school BTC.
That was
I
my
remember the real
fave.
crawl. Riverside.
900 crawfish in every bottle.
I love that stuff. Who knows?
Unopened.
But apparently it doesn't work per the science. Oil
It
and water
worked perfectly. We bought a lot of it.
I did
remember
too.
when kicking bass
right
scent.
there.
Everyone remember the kicking bass scent?
Oh yeah, they were huge on what, the old bass fishing homepage.
Bass fishing homepage.
Old
Back-
enough to remember that?
gosh.
The message board days.
Yeah.
When no matter what you said, somebody was there to shout you down and call you an idiot.
It's sat for 30 years and separated. That's the amount of crawfish, and then that's all oil.
That's what 90 crawfish look like.
900.
Not for 900.
Oh, you're
false
taking me
advertising.
back, man. You're talking me
Wait.
back.
What do you mean? That's Bill Dance right there.
It is.
Okay, then it's real.
Oh,
It's real.
It
If
works.
Bill promotes it, it's the real
real.
deal.
Oh my god.
Real crawl produces more strikes and more fish.
This is killing me. Oh my god.
That's all I needed to hear, BTC. Why didn't you lead with that?
Oh,
My bad.
Baxter,
I set you up.
while I was working on my tech issues, did anybody bring up ElasTech and the ElasTech style of floating plastic?
I
Because
was
that
going
has
to
to make the list.
actually say my next
Ned
introduction
Rig.
would be the TRD.
Ned Rig, I had it on my list. That's number
I
2.
mean, just
Oh, 05.
the
Well, if we're
TRD
talking,
worm for netting.
05.
Everybody's got a netting worm now.
Who knows? Okay, that's true. But what did they use before they used the Ned? Before the TRD was produced?
Didn't they cut
half
the
a
zinkers
Senko.
in half?
They cut the
Yeah.
zero in half, not the
Yeah.
zinker, the
Sorry,
zero.
my bad.
And I read it in Fisherman magazine, and it might even been on the Midwest Finesse forum because Ned Cady, I hope I'm
Ned
saying his
Cady.
name. Am I saying his name right?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Ned Cady.
Ned Cady, and I literally went to Bass Pro Shops. I got my zeros, and I cut them in half, and I stretched them like they said to release the salt because they said it was the most incredible thing. As the fish bit it, it got better and better, and they didn't necessarily at the time understand the why behind it, but it became a higher float bait, and it got this really natural matte finish look to it. But I was like, oh my God, that's Scott. There's something there. It hit me in my bass soul, and I never stuck with it until I met Travis. This is pretty interesting. And he wasn't even throwing the TRD at that point or the Ned. And now that's one of his top 2 baits. It's crazy to me. And I was on the river, Baxter, with Jimmy big time. I said, man, you ever thrown a Ned? He goes, no. And I'm like, I go, you got any Senko style baits? He goes, yeah, I got this one from, I was a trick stick from, oh God, what was the name of that company? Anyways, trick stick. I said, cut it in half. Cut it in half. First cast, he catches a Ned rig fish. And we both look at each other and go, see, it is easy. It wasn't huge, but just very interesting and super influential bait, man. Really, really was.
Yeah, I mean, now we've got Rapala, a hard bait company making Ned baits.
It's amazing.
I mean, everybody's got one. You got to have one if you're a big player in the soft plastic game. I mean, I can't imagine myself a Ned rig is my go-to because that's way down on my fishing list. But it is what it is. I mean, when it's tough, it's tough.
Power.
You know, it
Kevin,
does catch.
Kevin, have you ever had Ned Cady on your show?
No, I'd love to get him though because I know zero about finesse fishing.
He was there at the beginning.
I know enough, but
with guys like Drew Reese and Chuck Woods and Virgil Ward and Guido Hibden. He knew all these guys. He ran with all these guys. Ned's in his 80s now, lives in Kansas, and he fishes 3-4 times a week. And his primary goal is to see how many fish he can catch on a single Z-Man bait. And then after he's caught 150 or 200, he sends it to Daniel Nussbaum, the folks at Z-Man, and says, this bait caught 257 bass. You know,
he's amazing.
Hey, Ned's amazing, a fabulous guy.
He is
wonderful person.
Yeah.
He needs to be, some of his energy needs to be spread around a little bit.
I agree.
He takes his line, right? This is Ned. He takes his line and after using it for a while, he'll tie off the end of it on a tree, run it all the way out, and then go back to the other end and put his line on the reel backwards to reuse the line.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking love
Ned
that.
That is
I mean,
frugal.
like that is, I mean, that's to the extreme, but we're in such a throwout generation. Like some of that depression era stuff that energy needs to.
So what you're saying, BTC, is if his hollow belly frog, the legs have fell out, he doesn't do the replacement. He will throw them up there.
He will, absolutely.
Yeah.
But his original chatterbait hook would still be rusty, and there's no coming back from that. So
yeah,
gotta go to the jackhammer.
I did a little arm twisting with BTC and Pete Glusick on the Bass University, and I said, you got to get Ned Cady.
Oh yeah.
And so they did, and as I remember, he was wickedly backlit for that show, Brian, but he was money as far as the info.
I'd love to get him on here. You hook me up after, and I'll send him a text. A friend of his somehow contacted me last year, was going to Kentucky Lake, said, I'm a friend of Ned Cady's. All we do is fish Ned rigs. Well, I need some spots. I'm like, all right, here you go. and evidently caught their tail. And I was out fishing with Menendez filming a show, and it was tough. And I'm telling Mark, dude, this guy with a Ned rig, he said, I am not throwing a Ned rig. I said, all right, well, whatever.
You're gonna have to do some work though, Baxter, to get them dialed.
Well, I'm trying to get him on the glide bait deal, BTC.
No, I mean like with Ned to get him on your show. It
can't be any worse than me trying to get my own self and audio working and Eric in here. I mean,
it can be.
The beginning of a stream is always the most nervous I get. My blood pressure gets up pretty quick.
Kevin, I just sent you a text.
Days.
You the man.
Kevin, you just received a text with Ned Katie's contact info. You will love Ned Katie. He's awesome. Tell him I sent you.
I will.
He'll just hang up then, but tell him anyway.
What about BTC? I know this is one of your favorite under the radar baits, but I've noticed this style has gotten really popular. But I don't know who really made the style first. But the bellows gill. But you got like a depth bull flat. You got
I got a whole wall of them.
The OSP thing. Starting to kind of see that, or is that just a solid flat beaver? You know, it's not got no flaps on it. It's just.
It's
interesting question.
Yeah, and
it's got staying power.
And to your point about, I think the magic in it is all that. See that? Mm-hmm. So here's one thing I could tell you about it. When you flip it for a while, all day, the front of the boat is soaking wet. Your pant leg is soaking wet. Like this bait, that's all full of water. You know what I mean? So there's something to that. It's doing something different than everything else. I can't find a damn camera.
It's just got so much surface area. That's all. Water has a lot of adhesive quality to it.
Yes. All the nooks and crannies.
That thing catches them.
Yeah, and it's a different profile for one, right? Somewhat different.
That thing can hold an entire bottle of fish formula, by the way.
Absolutely.
It'll hold 900 crawfish.
But it doesn't need them because it has the most amazing smell. It smells
it's not amazing.
So good.
I love it.
It's shrimp toast.
It smells like burnt Cheetos.
Yeah, it's good.
like toasted Cheetos, not burnt, just nicely toasted. Oh, I love it. But they freaking eat that thing sometimes.
You use it primarily as a flipping bait? Pitching?
Yeah. Yeah, but like
not
lightweight.
Pitching.
Right. No, because it's
the free rig.
It's not a bait that I would. Yes. Yeah, like a free rig, or I really don't go heavier than an 1/8 ounce with it. And the bait itself has got a lot of bulk and weight to it. It's probably a 1/2 ounce, honestly. Because the Senko is 3/8.
I thought it was like 3. Oh wow, you think it's heavier than Senko?
Than a 5-inch Senko, I do.
Wow.
But maybe it isn't.
Okay.
I've got some of the bellows sticks. You know, that's kind of their big long. That thing's. I had to buy some of those. You know, they make their own little Nico adapters.
Mm-hmm.
You shove that in when they'll Nico rig that out deep. Whoa. Hold on.
So the concept of the ring style bait, like who made the first ringworm? Ken, was it Dr. Lauren Hill? I can't remember. From Rebel.
Rebel made the first ones that I can remember.
I got a pack of OG, I think. My God, I do.
Was Hugh Harville and Harville's Lures pouring those for Rebel?
That I couldn't tell you.
Look at that beautiful package of brown orange. That is a Rebel. See the on the bottom? And I think there's something to a ringworm.
Dude, I love the
sound,
Lucky Strike.
Vibration. I don't know, man.
Lucky Strike original ringer in plum. I bet I have 5,000 of them. That's the
Mariso
one.
Yeah, there you go.
Action worm. Yeah. Before that was the action worm. Terry Battisti. We have our two historians are present. One in the chat, one on live. Wow.
We should have got Terry in here.
Oh man,
But remember, we're talking
He talks too much.
2004
Yeah,
on. So, like, I was just pointing out the similarities with the new flat style smushed bluegill. I don't even know what to categorize the bait as that Brian showed. That's JDM. Ken, can we call that a category? Baxter, does anybody on the stream?
I don't know what category you put that in.
I don't either.
It's a flipping bait, but it's a unique profile.
It's a unique profile. It's not something, I don't know, and I could be wrong with that, but like I wouldn't throw it like to punch or anything like that, obviously, right? Because it's just.
Would you consider that like a gill profile?
Yeah, I think it's a gill. It's like if you look at the gill baits that were made by who made the first gill style bait that everybody throws on a bed? It's Lucky. No,
like a
Big Bite Baits. The Big Bite Baits one.
Fighting Craw or whatever it's called.
Fighting Frog.
Fighting Frog.
Oh, the Warmouth. They had that
it's called the Warmouth. It's called the Warmouth. That iconic bed bait, right? Very realistic looking profile. And so, as a gill shaped bait, that was the first one I can remember.
I'd agree with that.
And they painted it. It was hand painted shads and gill style. You know it, right?
Terry says Depps was making a gill profile in 2000s.
Okay.
Speaking of Depps, where does the Depps 250 reign on influential baits? That's the only big swim bait I could think of to put on this list. And I did do some research that said it came to market in 2003.
Yeah, so big glide baits. That's why I held up the Andrew Hinkle, right? Glide baits have to be included. That created a whole huge phase, and this was a player in a win in Texas. I believe Ben Milliken threw the Hinkle, correct? Baxter?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
For anybody who's not familiar with it, that's a $600, $650 bait that Eric's
What's
holding
that,
up
BTC?
there.
Is that the
But I didn't pay that for it. I bought those early.
Of course not.
This is
not saying I wouldn't.
Hide Up.
Hey,
Deppy? I don't know.
Good one.
Creative. Yeah, I think Brendan Brown sent me a bunch of those things. They're really cool looking. Yeah. So that's kind of that's a new category.
Hey, Baxter, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about, I know we talked about hollow bodies, but if you don't include a Huddleston.
But that's more than 20 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fair. Sorry.
Definitely in top 10 of all time. I would not argue that at all. But for the last 20, that's why I went with the Bass Tricks.
Point of order. My brain is not wired for 20 years. I'm sorry. More like the 40 years, 60 years. Sorry. Point of order. It's okay. Point of order.
I still love you, man.
I know, man. Believe me, my first list was like, what am I thinking? He said in the, from 2000 on, I'm like, I got to redo my whole list.
Have you messed with the Spyron at all from Bellows Gill? I mean, from
G-Crack?
Yeah.
G-Crack. Is it G-Crack or G-Crack?
I think it's G-Crack.
It's G-Crack for me. No,
all right.
And I'm in America.
This is my garage.
Well, thank you for using the initial of my last name, G-Crack. I like it. I'll take that.
Yeah. Oh, what about poop baits? Someone in the comments, poop baits.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole new one, dude.
No, it's a Ned rig. Sorry, I can't accept it. It's just a Ned.
But most people fish it weightless. How can you say it's a Ned rig?
It's not a Ned, dude.
I've been making poop since I was in diapers, so I don't know if it's really that new.
Is it a tube? Is it a weightless tube? Is it the salty core tube? I'm debating. I'm taking the opposite side.
That's not a debate. That's a dumb question.
I didn't ask a question. I made a statement.
You said, is it?
Oh, well, okay. I did ask a dumb question. Point of order. I'm just going to take a timeout, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, I don't know penalties for stuff like that.
I do. That's why I'm taking a timeout. It's like
I don't know if poop baits are really that influential. I think they're more of a fad right now than anything.
I don't know.
I mean, am I going to look back 20 years from now? I'm like, man, that cover scat. I'm glad I stocked up on these things.
Yeah, what do they what do they weigh, by the way?
The Yamato Nikki?
No, just any of them. Are they a quarter ounce? Or are they lighter? Are they an eighth ounce? You say they fish them weightless, but they have a lot of salt and weight to them.
Down here, the
Right.
guys who fish them are fishing some of the bigger ones, that are 4.5 inches long. And I got to believe that thing weighs 3/4 of an ounce, maybe.
Yeah, they're pretty heavy.
Interesting. So
Some heavy shit, man.
You say weightless, but damn, they're heavy.
They are
Yeah, they
heavy.
just-
You got to have a 6 or 7/0 hook in them.
And they go to the bottom. So there's a little bit of gliding going on and little weirdness, Brian, is what you're suggesting?
Yamatanuki is 5/8 of an ounce
Wow, that's a heavy bait.
from
That's
Paul
more than a
Mees.
half.
Dude, I
Good
throw,
God.
most of my
More than a
jigs are half ounce.
Wow.
Covers.
Yeah,
The
so not a
scat
Ned
is
rig.
3/4 ounce.
Holy crap.
There you go. That's it.
So they're just another flipping bait that doesn't have any action. It's
Well,
interesting.
the guys I know are casting them. They're not flipping them.
Yeah,
Can
like
we
a
all agree
tube.
fishing's getting stupider?
I
First
think
it was
I'm,
a Senko. Then it's cut the
100%.
Senko in half.
I'm getting stupider, Brian. I think that's what's really happening. I know I am.
I think an interesting lesson, especially when it comes to soft plastics, is the more basic the shape, the fewer frills.
I wish I stayed in the
The
comments
more
now.
bass like it.
Yeah, no way, dude. Get your ass in here. But then there's this thing, I don't
Yeah,
know.
dude.
Nothing makes sense anymore.
All right. You got some behind you, BTC. What about the max scent flatworm?
I mean, I think that's an example of scent, right? Does scent
Okay.
matter? That whole thing. I think
Wasn't
I
so
think
much
clearly
the shape or
it
anything,
does.
It was the scent deal.
Interesting
flatworm?
story. Interesting story. Can I add a little color commentary here and a story? Because it's live from on the water at Deep Creek Lake in Western Maryland. We are on Timmy Ream's bass boat. I'm with Justin, who is from Deep Creek Docks, and they both are bass fishermen. It's a clear lake. We have 360. We can see little dots of bass on hard structure. I am throwing a very popular flatworm shaped bait, almost exactly the same shape and profile and size of the max scent flatworm. Timmy has them on the boat and told Justin, don't open any of those. I need them for my next tournament. We're seeing these fish and we can't get bit. And he goes, screw it. I'm opening up a package. They're basically the same green pumpkin with some purple flake because that's the color up at Deep Creek, right? One of them that's really good. Smoke purple in addition. He throws the max scent out and proceeds to get bit multiple times. These are not big smallmouth, by the way. They're not going to help us in our Wednesday night derby win anything, but it was crazy the number of bites. And we're both on the front deck. And I go, now I got to have one. We're both drop shotting. It's not like he's got a 2-foot leader. We're throwing 6-pound tests. We're rigged up virtually the same. My first cast, a little 12-inch smallmouth. I proceed to catch 4 in a row. They ignored my offering with no max scent, and they ate it at will. I was stunned. It was a side-by-side comparison of scent, supposedly that disperses. I don't know, just
I
one
think
little anecdotal
smallmouth
story to add to the flavor.
But I think we can agree that the scent is more key with smallmouth.
But power bait with largies.
That's true. That's true. I mean, gulp was money for smallmouth.
Yeah.
True.
But
Go ahead,
it
Ken.
just seems like they're a little bit more keyed in on scent.
So was it the flatworm or was it the scent?
I think a lot of it was the scent. Look at what Ito did.
Like it was.
Is
Oh
that
my
the
God.
one with the
whole
powder?
soaking that stuff and swelling the baits up. Crazy stuff.
I can tell you the dispersal thing is real.
Is it real,
Again,
Ken?
It goes back to time. I've been to the Berkeley plant in Spirit Lake, Iowa a couple of times, most recently just a couple of years ago.
Fascinating.
And Mark Sexton running the lab then. And he had a cylinder of water. It probably had 5 or 6 gallons of water in it. And he dropped a max scent bait in there. And only it had been dipped in colored dye. Colored max scent.
Oh.
And the red in that dispersed throughout that entire 5 or 6 gallons over the course of several minutes.
What?
And just filled it up like a cloud expanding through the water. Now, you're not going to have quite that same impact if you're working the bait, you're bringing it back, because the amount of time that bait was sitting in there was longer than an average couple of casts, but it certainly would have it certainly would have enough dispersal that a nearby fish would notice it.
Interesting.
Now, whether they like it or don't, I don't know. I think fish get in moods. Fish are individuals to a degree.
Sure.
One of the things I appreciate about what Berkeley has brought to the science of the game, and Berkeley has always been a leader in that science world, is that they do test. And it was at Berkeley that I learned that a bass's olfactory system is small enough that it cannot take in an oil molecule. So all these oil-based scents that are out there, a bass can't smell them. He can't take them into his olfactory system. Now, a catfish can. And if you look at the studies that most of these companies do to prove the efficacy of their products, most of these studies are done on catfish, not on bass.
Oh, that's funny.
Really, it's scary.
Well, it's the whiskered bass. They just left the whiskered part of the bass out of the equation for us all. Thank
there
you
you go.
It's funny you say that because if you talk to all the OG hillbillies here, that catfish, they use shrimp soaked in WD-40.
That's so the crazy to me. WD-40 shark oil. What up with that? Whale oil? What is it? They won't tell you what the secret ingredient is, right? In WD-40.
I've been trout fishing and needed to zap something with some WD-40, and it got on a fly.
No.
And suddenly that fly, I'm serious. In most states, if you check carefully, WD-40 is illegal as a trout attractant.
Oh, come on, Ken. This is not an April Fool's joke. I can't.
Where the hell were you trout fishing?
North Georgia.
Yeah, it wasn't Kentucky because they can throw anything in the water.
Were you throwing a hopper dropper, or were you throwing a dry fly, a wet fly, a scud?
I would usually throw dry flies. I was a big fan of a Royal Wolf.
Oh God, man, Ken, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I got some 5-weights. I even got a little 3-weight.
Dude, me too. I got a 2-weight. I got hard in the
2-weight. My God.
I love it. Oh my God. The Sage center axis. They're up there.
There you go. I've got a Thomas & Thomas 3-weight that I really like.
I have no clue what y'all are talking about.
We're going to do a fly fishing episode because we just have to. I want to geek out with you. Anyway.
We'll maybe for the toxic properties of WD-40. Yes, maybe.
And I've also been in a bass tournament where I sprayed some WD-40 on something and the wind was blowing and it went and it hit my partner in the back of the boat and his bait. And we were having a tough day. I don't know if we'd had a fish at that point.
Stop it.
Well, he catches one on a split shot rig on the next cast.
No way.
And he says, "Give me that WD-40." And he starts lathering the WD-40 on his finesse worms and catching fish with it.
No way. I'm just.
But wait a second. That's oil based, is it not?
I'm just saying it is. I'm just saying something happened.
There's some water in WD-40. They will tell you that there's some water in WD-40, and so it's not the best lubricant for certain things.
Yeah, and keep in mind, WD-40 was not invented as a lubricant. It was invented as a water dispersal product to get water out of things.
So maybe it's just the science here is blowing. My mind is blown.
I don't know where we've gone, but it's totally different than where we started. But that's okay.
Sorry, I jumped in, Kevin. Your mistake for clicking me in.
I love it. It's entertainment.
How many on the list do we have? We've got the ChatterBait. We've got the hollow belly frog. We got the hollow belly swim bait. You got the big 10XD crankbait. You talked about the umbrella leg. We talked about a glide bait. We talked about Brian's bluegill flat squash bait.
Yeah, where do we put this? So
we talked about the Ned.
So this is the new entry. This is
So this is the future, right?
So this is from 6 Sense. This is the panorama. What is it? Is it? You consider this a gill? Do you consider it a flat shad?
It's a shad, but isn't it just the big bite baits bluegill shad version of a flat bait?
I don't know, man. This thing's like 3D design. It's got way more action than the gill. Yeah, I don't know. BTC showed me a freaking fatty he caught on it. So
you got one, BTC.
Yeah, I told him I'd send you another pack, but I hope they're
in my box. Baxter, I hope they're in my box.
How do you
they're in my box.
Is it on a jig head behind for a forward facing? What's it designed to do?
Drop shot, Carolina rig it. I mean, it's endless.
You can flip it.
So you're talking about nose hooking it for a drop shot, probably.
No.
Well, that's a 6.5-inch bait.
Yeah.
So that would be a lot to nose hook.
Power
My
shot.
wife would call that 8.
Power shot it, Brian.
Power shot it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I did. That's how I rigged it. I rigged it with a Texas rig hook flat.
Darius in here. We know Darius. Eric, he's been catching them on Kentucky Lake on the small one on a net head.
There you go, man.
The small ones.
I can see that.
So
dying shad, right?
Yeah. So I'm thinking for me, I want it as a follow-up bait for, throwing your vixen, your spook or whatever. One comes up, blows your spook out of the water, reel it in, fling that guy out there. Then it falls like that dying fish he missing comes back.
Being flat like that, like a flat crankbait, does it kind of like go crazy in the wind and like sail on you? I mean, that's
not too bad. They're heavy enough.
They're heavy.
Yeah.
So you can cast it straight. Because, like on a follow-up bait, you really want to put it where they blew up.
I mean, I'm no Craig Powers or anything, but I can catch it okay.
Have you tried it yet on a follow-up fish or had the chance to on the fall topwater bite?
Still waiting for the first bite.
I had it rigged up to go, and I never could get bit on the topwater, so it really didn't matter.
Be interesting to
still
see
waiting for that first bite.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see if it has a better catch rate as a follow-up bait on a missed strike than a Senko.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I always throw a soft jerk bait or Senko as a follow-up bait.
Yeah.
Just something.
Yeah, fluky.
Fluke, soft jerk bait, Senko. In the last few years, Nico rig's really been my follow-up for some reason.
Ooh.
Yeah, them little guys.
Why can you drop shot that?
You can.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Interesting.
Darius says it casts like a potato chip. I trust him.
I trust Darius.
Dude,
I mean, it's like a flat A. I mean, I love it. It's one of my favorite crankbaits ever made. But man, when it catches the wind wrong, it's going woo.
Like the old speed shad. A lot of guys coveted that bait, but I'll be damned if you can cast it accurately.
Very true. I mean, but for covering water and if you're scoping and you're trying to find one that you've seen on your forward facing 40 feet in front of you, that's not the bait you want to throw. But if you're just winding on some rock, it is the bait you want to throw because it gets bit.
Yeah. Where are we at on our list? Can you get anything
I would say that I think, to what we're trying to do here tonight, it's influential baits in the last 20.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're going to call this a new category. I feel like it is.
Yeah.
And I think forward facing is changing things. As Ken's said to me before, the flipping age is done, kind of over. Or at least it's on timeout for a while.
Oh man.
Everything comes back around and has its moments again, but
hopefully not in the grass fishery, but maybe.
So I could see that bait you
to some degree.
That panorama as a flipping bait when you get a shad spawn on Kerr Lake or any place where these shad spawn in the bushes and stuff like the gizzards run up shallow in the spring here on Kentucky Lake where everybody's flipping a tube, a worm, or a beaver. You come behind some guy with that guy right there and it falls, it does a little quiver. Oh.
I had one day on the water with it. And what we were out there to do, we shit the bed. We're fishing a tournament, and I was just like, all right, dude, I'm just gonna start making stuff up. And I actually rigged this up on a drop shot on a glide bait rod because we were there to throw to frog and throw glide baits and buzz baits and stuff like that. And I don't know, halfway through the day we're offshore marking them. So, but anyhow, I caught one drop shot in that, and then we were shallow on the grass again, and I was flipping it, Texas rig, small weight. I don't know if it was 1/8 or 3/16 on the nose, but my God, does that have a freaking profile coming up through some pads and grass.
Did you get bit flipping?
Hell no.
Oh.
But every time I brought that up, I'm like, I'll just wait.
It's got to get a bite. It's crazy.
It looked amazing, dude.
But the most impressive catch to me was on a glide bait rod, you power shotted ×4 with a glide bait rod and caught one. That's incredible that you thought to do that.
Got to do what you got to do.
What pound test were you glide
20
baiting, drop
pound,
shotting.
20-pound floor, straight floor.
That's amazing.
I would not say that's a
Kudos
new
to the-
lure category, though. I mean, the
Here we
cream little fishy. How long has that been around? It's the same bait. They look a lot better now, but it's
Has it
still
ever
just
caught
a
a fish?
cream. Not to my knowledge.
No.
But the cream little fishy, you put a cream little fishy on a jig head, throw it around a fish, you're going to get bit.
Yeah, I think Black Dog Bait Company made that shimmy shad. I think I got some right behind. Hell yeah, dude.
Look at that. Let's see it.
So you got the shimmy shad, but you know,
Ooh.
compared to the 6 cents deal, this is actually a soft jerk bait.
Take one out. Let's see it.
Yeah, whip it out.
Is it flappy like the other one?
No, these are kind of stiff.
Yeah. Man.
Nothing that putting in a pot of water wouldn't fix.
No, see how thick that is?
Wow.
Oh, so it's not meant to do the same thing.
No,
That ain't it.
This was meant
It's like
to work
a
with the
piece
soft
of
jerk.
wood.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a wreck.
It's got that
It's-
flat profile, but
This
Yeah,
is
it
much
does.
more flaccid.
Yeah.
That stiff one might be a decent soft jerk bait.
that's actually what it was made to be. I've got a friend that loves these things. He uses these instead of a fluke, but
Interesting.
not
But
very
they're all just
versatile. Got one or
they're
two
all
uses.
just a cream little fishy that's been upgraded substantially in terms of the paint job and stuff.
Where I can
I
see
heard
that being really influential, Ken, isn't this because of the shape. It's because of the design and, you know, technology's advancing. Now we're not just taking big lighters and welding plastic together to make a new bait. We're using Photoshop and 3D technology and all that. And I think that's the future is really going to go that way in soft plastic design.
Well, I don't disagree with any of that, Kevin. I'm just going to say that back in the 80s, there was a guy named Tom Seward who had the Crankbait Corporation, and he was doing some pretty high-tech stuff back then. They didn't have the CAD stuff to the same degree, but he was doing something that was almost as sophisticated and coming up with some really realistic baits. In the 80s, of course, that's when Bagley introduced their most realistic series with the bluegill and the crawdad and all that stuff. So it's a slower evolution than I think. I mean, I always have a problem when somebody wants to say that, oh, the Whopper Plopper is a revolution. Well, the Whopper Plopper's been around for 102 years.
Just made a plastic one.
Think about.
Well, they made a plastic one. They've improved the design dramatically. The look of it is a lot better. But this is glacial movement. It's not a volcano exploding. It's glacial movement through the years. And Terry Battisti, our buddy who's been chiming in here, he wants to talk
Poor Terry
about
left outside. It's like
we're still
like sitting
beating on him.
outside in the rain, you know, like looking in the
Man,
window. Everybody's
Bring
having
him on.
fun.
It's a $5 moment. Bring him on.
Yeah, well, hold on just a second. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I ain't
Here
got to
we
worry about
go.
Put your
We get
pants
into
on,
these-
Terry.
insanely we get into these insanely esoteric arguments about what is a swim bait, and he'll start off with a ridiculous argument and say, well, a swim bait has to be at least 7 inches long. Well, that means a 6 7/8 inch bait is not a swim bait suddenly.
Yeah. Right.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Really? That's
swim bait
freaking
universe. If it ain't made out of a meth head's garage and 7 inches, it ain't a swim bait.
Very interesting.
That's typing of a moron is what that is.
Ken, I don't know what got me down this rabbit hole, but
There's a little truth in everything, Ken.
I was reading about the Sluggo, and the
yes.
inspiration. Where did it come from? I never knew this. Ken, you probably do your shaking your head. Terry clearly does because he wrote it. All right, I'm just going to ask the chat. What bait was the inspiration for the Sluggo, which was at the moment, not in the last 20 years, obviously, but
Finesse
revolutionary? Fish. No, think
Well,
about it. It was not a soft bait at all, Brian.
I want to have a conversation
my
with
maiden
Herb
name.
Reed about this before I buy into what everybody is saying. What
Okay.
Terry is saying. But
Okay, fair.
But
Send
Herb
in the
Reed, by the
comments.
way, Herb Reed is a fabulous artist who did 2 Bassmaster covers and a wonderful guy. And the Sluggo, that was a revolutionary bait.
It was.
We all call them these days. We call them fluke style baits. Well, before there was a fluke,
There was a Sluggo. That's right.
Now I've seen some people argue that
boys.
this design was part of the origin of it.
Interesting.
This is an original hog. Oh, there he is.
There he is. The
Show's
man.
Show's over.
Somebody give Daryl
Gallery
Wilson.
has arrived.
I just have to give credit to Daryl Wilson in the chat. I asked the question and he answered it correctly. Per Terry Battista's reporting and writing, Ken Duke may take issue with it, but it was the Rapala that supposedly, did I get it right, Terry, inspired the Sluggo. He wanted a weedless version of a Rapala, call it a stick bait.
The 9S.
Yeah. So Herb Reed wanted essentially, because Herb came out with that bait in, what was it, 85?
Mm-hmm.
And it was back when jerk baits were getting huge. And it wasn't just the Rapala, it was the Bomber, it was the Bagley, Bango Lure, and all that stuff.
Wow.
And he wanted a plastic bait that would do essentially the same thing. And that's what he brought it out for.
Rotate your phone sideways.
Yeah.
Dr. Battisti, we haven't met, but why do you have makeup boxes behind you? What's that about?
Why does Epic Eric have fingernail polish in his?
Yes, I have a bottle in my pocket. I carry it on at all times in case I need to modify a bait like this pogo shed to make it show up on forward-facing sonar. For sure, Terry, you got it right. On the water modifications.
Damn right.
It says the Cinco was originally designed as a fluke type bait. Or am I?
This is 100% right. 100% right.
Exactly.
It was designed to emulate a Sluggo.
Yep, absolutely. And
has anyone ever tried to fish a Cinco like a Sluggo?
Oh yeah,
I do. But you know what? When Gary Yamamoto devised it, I think he was preparing for an Okeechobee tournament, and he realized he needed a bait like that, but he wanted it to be a Yamamoto bait, of course. So what he did was he made a call back to the office, and I'm looking for a
Sharpie
something here. I'm looking for a Bic pen that I have that is the Bic pen he used, but I don't have it in front of me. It's here somewhere within arm's reach. I don't see it. Anyway, so he went back and he told him to look on his desk for a green Bic pen. He said he wanted to use that as the mold, and that was the mold for the original Seiko. The only thing that's changed about it was they've added the ridges. Now, though Gary devised that bait, and it still made essentially the same way he wanted it made back then in 1997 when he first created it. What has changed about it was it got out there in the public, and people found out that it was a lot different lure than a fluke or a Sluggo.
I think he wanted a bait with a better hookup percentage. He
didn't tell me that.
Okay, I could be wrong then.
I don't know.
I might be wrong. And a fluke.
Yeah, well, then the Sluggo's hookup percentage could be rough because it was a stiff bait. I still have some.
Have to boil them.
Oh, we didn't have hot water back then.
There's the Cinco.
There's the Cinco, folks. There's the 5-inch Cinco.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Actually,
and there's a lot of backdoor animosity.
That's California shit, dude. You keep that out there.
As to who really designed it.
Yeah.
There's
some Garland.
Stan Grazzini is supposedly the guy that really designed it, and that comes from Ron Colby, who's one of my best friends, who was the president of Yamamoto. So
wow.
Well, there's a guy named Hugh Harville. He used to pour soft plastics for all kinds of companies back in the day. Supposedly, he made a Cinco style bait in the 80s and sold it at boat shows. I've got photos of it. I don't have any, but I've got photos of it. But it didn't sell, so he quit making it. And then the Cinco does its thing. So that's kind of interesting twist.
I got them here somewhere. The Jersey rig is a stick bait.
Mm-hmm.
They were thinner, but it was a stick bait that we were supposed to wacky rig.
Yep.
For weight, you use cement poured into a bucket. Jersey rig.
Lug nut.
You have to
But-
go
but
one
the
up
thing-
for a
the-
size flipper. Yeah.
Yeah, where they at?
What exit?
Now, here's
What exit?
a good question in chat. All right, M. Jones, the most influential hard bait color in the last 20 years.
Ooh.
Is
Sexy
the sexy
shad.
side last 20 years?
I would say sexy shad without a doubt.
Shad. Yeah.
I want to
I'd
say
say-
sexy shad's 2005, 6, somewhere in there.
You come
That
out with
right?
the XD
Yeah,
series.
it was 2002. I mean, Lucky Craft came out with it. It was chartreuse shad,
Correct.
and-
Correct.
and then Strike King,
Sex sells.
Strike King knocked it off with sexy shad. And I was in 2000. I was on the Lucky Craft Pro staff and had them then. So, I mean, it's
All right.
plus or minus a couple years.
Speaking of Lucky Craft, Terry, I think I remember you being on the pro staff. I was working for Mike Otten then, and a guy named Scott Robb. He was, I think he was the photographer and stuff. Then he took over pro staff. RC 1.5, the Rick Klein Series Square Barrel. The last 20 years, most influential.
That's way older than that, though.
Not the 1.5. No,
no,
not the
sir.
Square Bills.
Okay.
The Square Bills came out in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You know, so, you know, we're 18 years. But yeah, that 1.5, I mean, and it's the RC. When they moved it to the Takahiro version, it's a completely different bait.
Talk about that for 1 second. I agree. Tungsten
That's
to
good.
lead? Tungsten
Sorry?
to lead weight? Tungsten to lead weight change, right?
I don't, you know, I've never torn one apart, so I don't know. You'd probably know more than I do, Eric.
Yes, that's a fact.
Yes.
That you know more than him?
Yeah.
Hey, Eric,
I know that part, but plastic precision manufacturing, Japan,
Well,
to China, I
because
don't know.
the
Less
RCs
paint.
were made in Japan, and everything
Yes.
else after that were made in China.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take, for example, a B-Freeze 78 that is manufactured in Japan and compare it to a Pointer 78 that's manufactured in China. And if you get a Ghost version, look at the weighting. The weighting is completely different.
Yep.
The B-Freeze weights are made out of brass. The Pointers are made out of aluminum or steel or something like that. They're different dimensions.
Yep.
The whole 9 yards. So yeah,
It's got a different bill on it too.
No, it's got the same bill, but you know.
Sure.
Let me pull some out.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
I had a conversation about
Nice.
the ProTune BDS4 with Mikey Balls the other night and how that bait has changed. They do not run the same.
So the original BDS series, they came in a little square box.
Yeah, I'll show it.
You
got one, I'm sure.
It said Big Daddy Strike on it.
Well, I bet you don't know. There's a little secret about what made some of those really cool, man. It was a manufacturing defect. Crazy enough, right?
Yeah.
But this is the OG packaging Baxter's talking about.
Yeah. So if you find that right there, you better snatch it up.
It's solid gold right there. But anyway, one of the BDSs, Baxter, the weight was not perfectly manufactured. This was out of Japan, oddly enough, and it would shift occasionally, but not always. So it would make that bait do funny things in the retrieve. There was a one run of them, and not all of them, by the way. It was a BDS3. We call this the egg. The 3 and 4 were like river killers, if you know how to fish it. But anyway, cool.
Yeah,
I treasure that.
When I worked for Auten, I had so many of those things.
Oh God, really?
Then I sold them all.
Oh, Baxter.
I was young. I was drinking beer at the time.
Baxter.
That's why I don't drink anymore. I sold too many of my baits.
I
Hey,
drink
Eric?
and I don't sell much shit.
Dude,
Don't blame the alcohol.
I'm going to be straight up. I think people have forgot how much Lucky Craft influenced the bait market.
They made my all-time favorite spinnerbait.
Really?
Not the one in 2008-9 that Skeet used to win the 09 Classic, but the one they did in the 90s that was $15 and had the blade that looked like it was upside down. That thing would do a little shimmy in the water.
$15 in the 90s?
Yeah, man. They pierced the pricing model and blew everybody's mind. And
Yeah.
people
They
bought
had the
them.
first $15 jerk bait, you know, and then they had the $15 spinner bait, but that spinner bait was compact and incredible. I shouldn't say this, but I keep an eBay search on for that when it came in 2 sizes and 3 colors.
Well, when I send you your purple Bass After Dark personally painted nail polish crankbait, I'm going to send you one that just might tickle your fancy in a golden shiner. And you tell me what you think when you fish it. What size would you like? 3/8 or half?
Give me 3/8.
It's done. Let me know.
That's awesome. Thank you, Eric. Hey, Eric, you know, of the guests on the show here tonight, you're the only one I don't have a podcast with. When do we start? You and me.
I'm all in. Are you kidding me? I'm all in. And then this is like Nirvana. I mean, it's Nirvana.
My God.
You got Baxter the Baitman, Ken Duke.
You know, Ken's Mormon.
Snake producer. You got Terry Battisti, and I'm like totally hooked on the bass fishing archives. I've been reading, and it blows. I love the history of baits, and I love that Terry is attempting to educate the bass fishing community about the origins of these baits, the inspiration, because it tips the hat. It tips the hat to the people that were the forerunners and the forefathers and the thinkers, and a lot of the younger generation doesn't know it. And look, it's not like I'm hung up. You got to throw the old baits. That's all that works. I'm not saying that at all. But it just adds so much more when you're out there to know the why of a design or a technique, and I think it makes you a more complete angler. So, you know,
he's doing amazing things with that. But
really
Kevin, I got to say the only guest you have on tonight that I'm impressed with is Epic Eric. The rest of these guys are kind of riffraff.
I concur.
Yeah. This is BTC's first time on here, and I've enjoyed him.
He's the best.
Ken goes through podcast hosts like a freaking Mormon husband.
I'm going to say this too.
This is fun.
It really teased me off, though, that we still call it podcast. This is a stream, okay? Now I can delete the video, and we can. And I've been saying I'm going to do that for like 2 years, and I never do that. But
it's a shocker to me that nobody has mentioned, and to see if anybody can identify this space. Clacky, Brian, why do you have some? What are you doing now?
That is sharp.
Okay, I got you.
Oh, he's got his headlights.
He's got the snake light.
Nice headlights.
Thank you.
Sorry it's kind of where you can't compliment people anymore, Terry.
Exactly.
It's a new.
I'm about to get demonetized.
It's a new category. Demonetized. It's a new category.
What?
I can't reveal it. I want to see
if anybody can. About?
I can't reveal it. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Has anyone heard of the Clacky Wacky? Think about it.
Clacky Wacky?
Like a wacky worm with rattles in the ends, or what do we got here?
The Clacky Wacky. Just think about it for a second. Coming in 2024.
Hey, the bait I fish most anymore, it was patented in 1923. So
which was?
The Johnson Silver Minnow.
You do not still throw silver minnow. I love it.
I throw it a lot. I put spinner blades on the back of it. I tie fly materials to the back,
I love it.
And Mylar.
All right, Ken. So I read a Bassmaster magazine article. I hope you were the editor for this particular one and drove the article. I was inspired to go buy a Johnson Silver Minnow, and I didn't have enough money as a paper boy to buy a pork eel.
How old do you think I am, Eric?
Jesus Christ, Eric!
Listen, Ken. I think.
How dare you?
I'm just kidding about the writing. But anyway, I took a white trash bag, and I cut, because of the article, I cut the shape of a Johnson pork eel, and I put it on the back of that. And if you've never seen white trash bag material behind a Johnson Silver Minnow, there's nothing like it. It is still like one of the sexiest, and I caught like a 4-pound bass on it. I watched him inhale it. There was an electrical loop, like when people back in the day used to put cable or whatever was telephone wire. It was the wood thing that they rolled the big wire on. and somehow that thing rolled into the front lake in front of my community. I did not roll it in, but it was there. And so it was this perfect, like, sunken, brush pile. And I reeled that Johnson minnow by it with that trash bag trailer, white trash trailer. And,
White trash trailer.
I said it. And
White trailer trash.
I
Three
caught
by
it.
my house.
So it makes me wonder, that's cheap material. You could put that on the back of a spinnerbait. You could put it on the back of a lot of things. So Johnson Silver Minnow story with a trash bag trailer, an article from Bassmaster Magazine that inspired me to go out as a kid and try something completely different.
What that tells me was
Fagerstrom.
Oh,
Stan Fagerstrom wrote that article.
Oh my God, Terry
Stan
knows
was
so blows me away.
Yes, Stan was doing articles about the jitterbug and the hula
Thank you,
popper
Stan.
and the Johnson Silver Minnow back then and bringing.
But it
those
blows
baits
me away
back
that you still throw it and catch them in Florida, or redfish maybe, or bass, redfish, or both. Or
bass, redfish.
That's unbelievable, man. No,
I eat redfish. Blackened is nice.
Ron Hill says he knows guys
cool.
that smash on a silver minnow on Guntersville.
Forgotten baits, man. That could be a whole nother episode.
Yeah, we somehow went from most influential to trash bags to oldest crawfish in a bottle. I mean,
control, Baxter. Take control.
It started out as me and Baxter, you know what I mean? And here we are. Look,
doing just fine. Look at that, man. You brought
friends
on.
Travis going to DM me and say, "Hey, let me get on that. We need to talk a little aliens for a bit."
You sunk your ship, man, when you brought us on.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Kevin, if you don't get control of this soon, people are going to talk about you like they talk about me and BTC when we had Milliken and Block it on.
I'm good with that. Any publicity is good publicity. I'll almost sink my YouTube channel. I'm trying hard to get it back. But
go Baxter. Go,
how'd you do that?
Take control.
I got a union job, so I work a lot of overtime. So, but anyway, I make way more money at my job than I can on YouTube. If I got demonetized, my bank account wouldn't even notice it. But anyway, back to
money in fishing.
Back to the 1.5 Lucky Craft. There'd been square bills. You had a Big O, from Cordell.
It's my first crankbait.
Yep. You had a few OG square bills. I think Bandit 100 was out. That's a square bill. But until that RC 1.5 came out, it changed things. Like, everyone had to have one. Booyah or Excalibur. Then Strike King had to come out with the KVD 1.5. And I know for a fact Van Dam had plenty RC 1.5s. So now, if you're a hard bait company, you gotta have a square bill. I mean, look, 6 cents, 50X, 100X, it's a RC 1.5, 2.5 style blank. Their best selling bait. Now you entered the high performance square bill market. It was, pretty bland before that, but the RC catches them, and that's why I can throw one up on Whatnot and get $25 for one, or more, depending on what it is. I'm not a big fan of the 4.5s and the 3.5s, but they got a cult following, it seems. But again,
big
Lucky Craft as a whole, how many baits did they come out with that people went, oh, snap? Pointer jerkbait was kind of the first. People will talk about a Vision 110, but $16, $17 is a little easier to stomach than 25. Pointer, the Sammy 100s, one of the easiest top waters to ever work. All of a sudden,
but Baxter, what was the Sammy inspired by? Hello.
The putt fish.
No,
the SDI putt. No, not the Balsa Pro.
Yeah, well, but the Balsa Pro was inspired by the. Yeah.
Keep going. The fat sum.
The fat sum.
Hang on, where the hell did I put them things?
This is the oldest Sammy. Here's my wood, Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there we go.
You got a fat sum?
I don't have a fat sum.
I got a fat sum.
But here we go.
Yes, Balsa Pro in the pack.
I got
Ichiban.
Ichiban tackle, yeah.
Signed or not?
No, it's not signed, but I got it numbered.
Sign it, Terry.
No, numbered is what I meant to say. Sorry.
No. This is so I've got here. Let me go in the house and get the other ones.
Yeah.
In the house, we keep
I'm
warm.
gonna go get mine.
I think Terry knows, but wasn't the fat sum the name of a guy's dog?
It was. There's a story behind all of it. Let me go get my
When
fat
did-
some.
Ah, shit.
We've lost.
I want to know when a shallow runner became a square bill.
That's a good
Well,
point.
A lot of it had to do with the shape of the bill and its ability to deflect off stuff. But the first square bill was the Big O. And Cordell made them in plastic, and they sold millions of them in a year. But Fred Young, of course, was making them out of balsa and computer board. And those are the
You
ones.
talk about E-Step?
Well, I didn't talk about Mike E-Step, but Mike E-Step was, who passed away recently, was a protege of Fred Young.
Yeah.
Fred Young, because of his work with the government, wasn't allowed to have a side hustle. But Mike E-Step was not working for the government, so he was making.
No, he was
baits.
working for the government.
Was he? But he didn't have that prohibition.
So Fred Young actually was in a body cast, and when he got recuperated, he never went back to work at the plant. I actually, if you guys don't know, I live and work where Mike Estep and Fred Young work.
Oh my gosh! What?
Here in Oak Ridge, Tennessee.
Wow.
And
really?
Yeah. And
Nuclear power plant.
Nuclear research facility.
Right.
And so Young never went
Terry's
in.
Terry's a test subject, kind of a human lab rat.
Yeah, they do experiments on me. And so Young was able to build baits and, sell the business, the rights to Cordell. That was okay. E-Step was not allowed to actually start a business because he worked for the government. And that's why he never did anything as big as what Fred Young did. But Kevin, I mean, you're in Kentucky. Well, come down to Pigeon Forge the first weekend in January for the Pigeon Forge antique lure meet.
Oh, really?
Good news for you, Terry.
Yeah.
My wife bought me tickets to the Tennessee Ole Miss basketball game that Saturday in Knoxville. So I could swing by there. Junior will be in hall with me, but I can swing by there.
Terry, I got questions.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to talk to Mike about his baits, and he wrote me a little handwritten note, and I ordered a few of his baits. He signed a couple like this one. I have no idea, I'm never going to throw it. But are his plugs valuable these days or what?
$200 is probably what that bait in your hand's worth.
Are you kidding me?
No. Ken's
Holy
got some.
Crap.
Yeah.
He signed it 157 E-Step right there. That's crazy. I didn't know that. Wow.
I went through Menendez balsa box last year, and I found like 6 of them, and he just said, "Put those back." That's all he said. Like, okay.
Wow.
He says, "I do fish those, but I can't get them anymore. Put those back."
I'm actually doing a movie right now on the life of Mike E-Step.
Did you
what?
Did you ever see any of his topwater plugs that he made?
I have pictures of all of it.
Oh my God!
Hold on, wait a second. You're doing a movie?
I'm doing a movie on Mike E-Step.
Excited!
It's going to be
Tom Cruise.
It's going to be released. It's going to be released at the Pigeon Forge show.
Oh no way, Terry! I'm so fascinated.
Yeah.
Badass.
So who's playing him? Tom Cruise?
Cruise is E-Step.
Sorry, Ken.
He's doing his own stunts too with the
Ken Duke
balsa.
is playing Mike E-Step.
This is the best stream I've ever been on. I love it, man. This is hysterical.
Ken, go ahead and finish. Obviously, Ken's read the script. Go ahead.
It's awesome. The love interest with ScarJo is kind of why I signed on.
ScarJo! I'm dying over here. I can't take it. I gotta go. Terry, I want to be an extra. Can I get in it?
Absolutely.
I'll do it free, man.
We can. I think there's a part of your anatomy that can be used to imitate his topwater bait.
No, Baxter, you're in trouble now. You're in trouble.
No, man, we're good.
We get demonetized. How about deplatformed, Kevin? That's where you're heading, man. Kevin, I work with 2 of these people on a regular basis. You did this to yourself.
Yeah.
No, man, I enjoy it.
This is awesome. Holy crap! I did not expect this.
I'll be honest, it's been a
Wow.
while since I've had just a good old fashioned shit show stream, and I really
Well, you invited me on,
my
dude. I
channel
tracked
actually
it.
needed this. Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
hell!
I've been wanting Ike forever. I've been trying to get Ike on here just one time, so I had
Good
to
luck
settle
with
for
that.
BTCs. But
Don't lean on me for that. I can't get him on the phone.
BTC
Dude.
is Jersey Plus.
so
That's,
sometimes I
that's the best
feel
you can
like
get.
since we're all over the place, sometimes I feel like it's good having the pro fisherman on here. And I always tell guys, hey, if you come on my stream, you promote who you want, you say what you want. I don't give a shit. But sometimes it really does feel like a sponsor push. And it's nice to have guys that talk about what you want, say what you want, and
They have nothing to
I've
lose.
yeah. I mean, I love Six Cents. I love Waterland. I promote them. And part of my deal is like, hey, man, I'm going to talk about a Rapala, a Norman, reaction innovations. When people want to talk about, we're going to discuss. And they've always been like, that's cool.
Yeah,
So,
you're the bait man. You're not the 6 cents bait man, because if
yeah,
you
and
are, then
sometimes
you
I felt
need
like
to
I've
just drop the title.
sometimes I felt like because you want to hold obligations up to people, I've tried to be too much of the 6 cents man, and I got to get back to being the bait man. And
You got to hold your integrity, man.
yeah,
And like, what's it worth? Like, I had the conversation with Mike and Pete when we started doing the podcast. Like, hey, like, we got to be real. Like, when Mystery Tackle Box came on as a sponsor, like, are we gonna open up the box and pretend that that's not a brand that isn't sponsoring you? Like, no, we have to fucking talk about it. And people are watching. People aren't stupid, dude. They know the jig is up. You know what I mean? Can't sit there and pretend that like these other companies don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Just be real. And you'll get the people watching will appreciate that. And I think that your sales will go up when you have their trust.
Correct. Mm-hmm. That was always my deal is if I tell you that if I've been talking, let's say I used to post on Instagram every day and I've got away from that because I hate Instagram. If I was naked in a bikini, golly, it'd be unreal. But my deal is just post baits and talk about them. And so I did a little experiment last year. I started posting like I used to. I'd say, hey, we're going to do jerkbait week. And I put OSP, Lucky Craft, Mega Bass. Man, those posts were going crazy. And then I put the 6 cents bait that I like, the color I like that I use. It went crazy. But if I get off track of that, I notice my interactions less. And I don't think people go, hey, if he tells me this bait's good and this bait's good, and then he talks about from the brand that sponsor him, obviously that one's probably pretty good too. Just transparency. And look, man, it's tough, when companies paying you or whatnot. But I've always said if you make something I like, I'm not going to or don't like, I'm not going to trash it. I just don't talk about it. I think it works the best parties then, but
I respect you more if you trash it, but that's cool.
Well, I'll trash other people's. When people make dog shit, I tend to call them out. So.
Well, there's a bunch of people wanting to talk about dog shit lures half an hour ago.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess it works out.
Interesting.
But yeah, I enjoy the randomness that's going on tonight.
Ken Duke, since you are a big swing head fan, and you are a fly tire, I assume, or a fly fisherman, I'm really proud of that little creation, which is a Finesse swing head. And this was one of the most difficult ties I've ever done. It's on an owner cover shot hook. I just have always wanted to have a little Finesse swing head. And there it is. Zoom little speed crawl. That was a really tough tie.
That's amazing. Cool. That's
Eric,
phenomenal. Look at Eric.
I'm going to tell you this. I come across a holy grail of flat sides.
What?
I come across a bag of little PDs. There's 25 of them in there.
Well, it doesn't matter anymore because plastic's way better. The Fritz side killed them, but this is the one he's talking about, little PD. Original.
Yeah, but these
shit.
The ones I saw,
yeah,
you'll never get because they're Kevin Van Dam's. And they were made for Kevin. They have his initials on the bottom.
Oh my gosh, that's really cool.
I can't tell you how I found them or came across them because I don't need to give up this person's info. And I tried to get one for you.
They're clearly not for sale, which is fine, but that's really cool that you at least saw it.
Yeah, I said, man, where did all these little P's come from? And
But how
this
did
guy's
KBD sell them?
This guy's a custom painter, and he said, dude, I can't take no money for those. And he told me, and they even say,
so he painted them for Kevin, and he hadn't sent them to him
not
yet. Kevin didn't pay his bill.
I can't go any farther than that.
So he sent them to Kevin Kevin sent them to get painted.
Yeah,
and he painted some knockoffs, sent them back to Kevin, and kept these.
You mean they were supposed to be Strike King flat shad so Kevin could fish them in Beeswax Creek? Dude, I am really confused right now.
Eric, you'll see it ICAST. That's all. That's all.
Well, now you got to go to
ICAST.
They're bringing out the little PD reproduction in plastic. That just makes me angry.
No, it's not a little PD.
Let's get to what really matters. Eric, for all the work that you put into Travis's show, why is he not bringing you to ICAST this year?
He's going?
I don't know.
That's the only time
he does. He's got to bring you and pay for it.
So I have a bucket list, and maybe Ken and Terry can help me out. I've never been to an ICAST. I've only been to 4 classics. I've never visited a lot of the legendary lakes that I've read about since I've been a kid. And this is a moment where, like, if anybody is inspired to give me tips or thoughts or ideas, I want to make 24 a special year. I'm not dying yet, but I don't want to look back on my life and go, man, I worked really hard in my job and built a business and didn't get to do the things I wanted to do. So I just need some people to talk to about it.
Eric, not only will we get you at ICAST,
I'll come with you.
We'll get you media badges. How about that?
And all you have to do is renounce Travis Manson.
That's my outlet for like joy. I get to talk to people about fishing every week.
Eric, we got you. We will get you in. We'll get you the golden ticket.
Oh, I can't do it.
You just have to renounce Travis Manson.
I can't do it
because he doesn't DM me. He's a lot bigger than I am.
My weekly conversations with people on the stream are it's like air for me. When I cannot fish, it's breathing.
You need not renounce Travis Manson. I got you covered.
No,
I got you covered.
BTC. Why are you trying to start trouble?
What?
That's what he does.
I think his point's really, we just need to get you to ICAST.
Stands for in BTC.
Ken, I want to do it. I've never been. I so want to go.
If you go, Eric, I'll go. And
just say the words, Eric.
I'm saying it. I want to go.
No. Fuck Travis Manson. Say the words.
I want to believe, like Scully and Mueller. I want to believe.
Eric, you have all the pieces to get a media badge to the Bassmaster Classic or to ICAST. Yeah, the podcast is all you need.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm such a rookie. I don't know anything.
Yeah, all you have to do is get on the websites and fill out a media deal, and they'll send it to you. It's that easy.
That's
say you're bait media. That's what I do.
Well, no, I am a co-host of a podcast, I guess, at the end of the day.
Absolutely, you are. You're qualified as media now, and then you will no longer be a classic or ICAST media version. Although Terry will tell you there's another step you have to go through, but don't pay any attention to him. It's awkward and probably painful.
It involves smelly jelly.
Is it UV? Is it Bass Feast UV? If so, I'll use.
Oh man, I'm glad you said something about UV. All right. Biggest fraud in the bass industry.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I'm going to tell you.
I don't know about
careful.
that.
Listen, Eric.
Hey, back to the show, we already debated this.
If Bass see and UV, and there was a manufacturer making all UV fishing lures, and they see in these shades of UV, and why the hell is all the UV the same color? Why do you even need multiple colors of things? Because if they're seeing these...
Interesting. You bring up a good point that we did not cover heavily on the last Bass After Dark, and I hope you watched the replay because it was a really good show. And you have legendary winder David Fritz. And do you know what his favorite color was? It was a fluorescent color. Fluorescent colors have UV. Terry, anybody want to disagree? I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of school here. I'm no expert, but I believe fluorescent colors reflect ultraviolet light, so they're the most visible at depth because regular light dissipates at depth. UV does not. Didn't know that.
Fritz also made my head explode when he said that the underside of a crankbait is the most important color, not the back.
Mine too.
I agree with you.
Fish look
what
up.
What is this Bass After Dark that you're talking about?
Well, thank you for asking. BTC and I have a prepared statement now. It was kind of awkward after Kevin gave his thing about not wanting to be a shill, but let's go, Brian. Let's go, man.
Sure, that's fine.
Well, one great show idea that they haven't done yet would be who should be on the Mount Rushmore of bass fishing. Maybe you should be on that show.
Maybe you can just tell us who would be good on it. Yeah.
I was in the chat rooting for you, man. I loved it.
Bass After Dark. No, they won't catch on. They won't catch on.
It'll catch fire.
We've been.
I got my B-freeze here, by the way, Tara.
What's that?
I said I went and got my B-freeze, and this is like an hour and a half ago.
Look at that shark belly.
No, they're not. But I do have a B-freeze. It's got a shallow lip, so that's what threw me off.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What's the underside of that one bait that seems to be glowing in your black light?
Well, that's the pointer. That's just charbelly.
Chartreuse. Fluorescent chartreuse. Interesting. See how it stands out like a light bulb, Baxter? And for the record, here's what I know about paint, because I tested it myself. Older style crankbaits painted by older painters that have paint with probably toxic additives that got banned or they ran out of, or they cheapened it because it was expensive. I held up an old Bagley under a black light and used a new Bagley, the new originals, and the old one glowed like a light bulb. So was there something, and the belly too, because the belly was, hot orange, fluorescent orange. And so did Fritz use baits that the bass could were they glowing brighter than the newer baits today? I don't know, man, but it's a lot of food for thought. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just really interesting to me.
Well, my deal was if they all glow UV, why would you have 10 different colors of a bait with whiskers in it if they're all going to glow the same color? Why not just make a white and there you go?
Well, we debated that, didn't we? Fishermen are funny creatures, and so are bass.
They have really small brains too.
Yeah,
bass fishermen.
So do we.
Wasn't the flying lure really small brain? I remember the flying lure commercial, the infomercial, and the hog trough banned in major bass tournaments. Guess what? My dad had to go buy some. Really wasn't a bad bait. So, guys, we've been on almost 3 hours. Yeah, I actually caught several fish on a flying lure on a spinning rod around boat docks. Man, you can catch them. Spotted
anybody who thinks a bait that drifts away from you at the end of the cast doesn't fall right into a fish's mouth is not thinking very clearly.
I mean,
I just never throw it.
The Ben Parker Magnum spoon, you throw it out there and it falls away. That's pretty proven, though. It catches fish.
Absolutely.
All right, dude, we have been on 3 hours. It is almost past my bedtime. Well, you and Terry and Duke have been on about 2. Me and BTC been on for a while.
It honestly feels like 20 minutes. That's how fun it's been. Thank you.
Well,
appreciate it very much,
I'm going to break it down, close it down, if that's okay with you guys.
We've got one more thing.
All right, go ahead. This may turn into 10 more, but go ahead.
So I hear hard body flukes is a thing happening in the Carolinas.
Yes, they're on. There's a bait on TackleWarehouse right now. God, what's the name of that thing?
I had a package here. I wish I could.
It's from 1,000 fish or something. What's the name?
10,000 fish. What, the MTB company?
No, it's not. It's a little garage craft company.
It's badass. It's basically a hard body fluke, and on the back it's got a screw, and you can screw the tail of like a normal fluke on.
That's right.
Now I've been seeing these on like Lanier or something like that. God, I'm gonna find it.
Blueback Lakes.
What's the name of this thing?
Ken's got his hand up.
Go ahead, Ken.
Ken.
Does anybody here remember the Lucky Craft Wander? We were talking about Lucky Craft earlier.
Yes.
WANDER.
Of course.
Yeah,
100 swim baits. It's the glitch jerk bait. I'm gonna put it down here in the chat.
That Lucky Craft Wander.
That was a cool bait.
It was a fabulous bait. It would shimmy when it fell.
Yep.
Caught a lot of fish around bridge pilings and boat docks on it. And if you twitched it, it sank, of course, but it would act like a spook.
Yeah.
It was an amazing bait. It wasn't in production for very long, but I've got a box full of them. Love that thing.
I think that's
You
the
could
bait,
you could sell certain colors and certain sizes to the blueback chasers in the Carolinas down to Georgia. I had a guy reach out to me who's been featured recently and won big money, and he was chasing a couple different things. He was chasing a few things. And,
I'm gonna put this on the screen real quick.
Wanderer was one of them. Can't say the size and color because I don't want to betray his trust.
Can you guys see this? This on TackleWarehouse. This 100.
The freaking line drawing.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Oh, they make a bone one too. So it's got the body of a
okay.
fluke. It's got the screw here to put your tail on.
So you got to cut a fluke up, right? You got to cut a fluke up and put your tail on it.
$35.
No, you do.
Yeah.
35.
$35?
Yeah.
I don't
Holy
remember
crap.
paying that.
Why would
And they didn't even give you the fluke? Oh,
Does it come in a 2-pack?
No.
Damn.
$35?
I think I'm going to buy one and try it out.
You
Why
got
wouldn't you
to.
just hang a treble on the belly of your
But you can put 2
5/0
trebles on this.
extra wide gap and call it a day.
Yeah, there's a lot of fluke modifications, and there's another fluke bait that might even be better than the real fluke.
The D-shad.
Nope.
Have you thrown the D-shad?
Yep. You got to look to the salt water. That's all I'll say. Look to the salt.
What the hell's this shit?
It's like
You're
some
trying to be
cryptic
prophetic?
message in a movie that we have to spend the next hour and a half chasing down.
I fish Lake Kerr.
Yeah.
And that's where my championships are. That's where that trophy. That's where that trophy came from.
Bugs Island.
As a Yankee, as a Yankee, I say Kerr.
You're just begging for pity.
My son just
like
came in the
bucks.
bait room to ask me if I'm okay. So,
Kevin's got to go.
Are you okay, Dad? Yeah.
Extreme Lure Creations. It's Rob Jordan. He
He's a
makes
blueback
some.
chaser.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that dude is a wizard, man. He makes some custom baits and paint jobs. It's insane what he does.
And he's a
Doesn't he
smart
make
guy.
that? Doesn't he make that 44, whatever it's called, the 44 cal or something?
350. Fucking
Something.
half.
350.
It's a little skinny blueback style wake bait crank down. One's billed, one's not. Mm-hmm.
Right.
He makes a herring style swim bait.
That's the one I'm talking about.
The new thing he makes is here. I'll just pull it up here for you guys.
Do it.
He's a really good dude, by the way.
You're showing
Rob's
that you
awesome.
are the bait man. See?
He is. He knows
I'm
it all.
trying.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Rob's a really cool dude.
You're bringing Baitman back.
I'm trying,
Bring him
buddy.
back. Bring him back. Why's your son still up? That's my question.
What is that called? The 44 cal or 58 cal? What's it called? One of them.
The Mag 20. There's this the new Mag 25. This is what I think BTC is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a fluke / jig and spoon.
That's the newest one.
Mm-hmm. And then
It's
Yeah,
a
you bomb that
metal
thing
bait.
at the 65 motherfuckers.
And then
where's his swim
those are
bait?
his customs ones. Yeah,
Oh
that's his
my
custom
God.
thing.
He makes them.
Use the code Baitman.
I wish there was, buddy. I'd use it myself. I wish there was. At $30 for a 3XD, I need 10% off.
Yeah.
The 44 mag right here.
Thank you very much. That's what I said, dude.
I was just confirming. We got people
Damn,
on here that
Master.
are fact checkers, Eric.
That's a 3-piece
quad.
bait.
3-piece bait.
He's got a build version too, and he has different sink rates. So pretty cool concept. But there's some other stuff that was out there before that, but that's a really cool one for
Yeah,
sure.
I think the bull herring from Buka had been out before.
True, but even before that, what was there?
Look at
Triple
this guy.
trout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mike Shaw. Right?
No, Scott
There it
Whipper.
is.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're
Stabile.
right. 22nd century.
You know,
He pumps out some deals too. Custom paints them.
Yeah, dude.
I saw a Magic Swimmer earlier.
Oh God, look at Hooch Shad. Holy shit, $55.
That'll cost you some hooch.
I could probably get it for him if we want to do it that way. I am in Kentucky, by the way. All right. Anyway.
All right. Anybody else got anything new?
Well, I want to address something too. We just hit on it. Some people on Facebook and YouTube had mentioned bull shad. And the reason I didn't say bull shad was one of the most influential, which Mike has made a mecca, Kingpin Mike.
Yep.
He admitted that he basically took the triple trout and adjusted it for a shad profile.
Yep, so that's exactly.
Technicality, I had to throw him out there.
Yeah.
You just got to tip the hat.
Scott Whitmer's been my best friend since we were 15 years old.
What?
And I actually was with Scott on Lake Cachuma when we first threw the triple trout back in, I want to say 97 or 98 when they were wood. Yeah. Wow. And at that point in time, I was going down to California just every, Christmas and summer for a month and fishing with Scott. And I was putting all this stuff on the Bass Fishing homepage, and Buka bought a couple of them. And next thing I know, a year later, he comes out with the bull shad probably in 2004 or 2005. And it's like, dude, you knocked off Scott's bait.
There it is. Triple trout.
Yep.
My buddy Ryan Coleman actually sent me that there from Lanier.
Ryan? Oh, my God. Bass assassin.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a 8-inch, and it's a prototype.
I'll show you 8 inches.
BTC's seen him in action.
I knew when BTC said one more thing, we were going to be diving in about 10 more.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, these are things that got to be said because someone's going to say, hey, man, why didn't you mention the bull shad? And I love Mike to death. It's a good friend of mine. And I love the bull shad. He's made a good living making that bait and making bull glides and rats.
Yeah.
But the triple trout was the OG. It was the bull shad before its time.
Yep.
So the lesson is don't be the first.
Be the last.
Be the best.
Right. And they still sell triple trout, and they're great baits. People still buy them all the time.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Scott moved from California to Texas and lives on Lake Fork now, and he's making, I don't know, 150, 200 baits a month. I mean,
wow.
He sells everything that he can make.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
That Siebel Magic
underground community.
What are you cooking up there, BTC?
I don't even know why I got that sitting on my desk, but I do. That's crazy.
Olives? You eating a salad?
Nah.
Is that
that's a cherry pepper stuffed with prosciutto and sharp provolone.
This always comes out, man. He does it every late night stream, and I just wish I had some because I ate one with him one time.
All right,
yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Start salivating.
I'm hungry. My wife made tacos tonight, and I haven't had any. I got to have some tacos. She was nice enough to cook for me, but I've been on here discussing baits with you degenerates, and it's and I say that
after dark tomorrow night for anybody that's still here. We're going to be talking. If you were Bass Czar for a day, what would you do to fix this situation?
Unban the A-rig.
Yeah,
fire everybody.
So good. I can't wait to watch that one.
Unban the A-rig came up a number of times. Say it again.
How about that?
What came up a number of times?
Unbanning the A-rig.
Yeah.
I've seen that from a number of people.
It's all political. Yeah. So I hope everybody's enjoyed this stream tonight, and I really appreciate Ken joining. BTC had a great time. I'm glad we popped your cherry on the Baitman stream. You're welcome anytime. Terry, first time. Thanks for coming on, making sure you fact check us. And
thanks for
Eric
having me.
Eric, I appreciate you as always. You know, you're my boy. Even though I took forever to ship your package, I was a terrible friend.
That's all right. We'll do an
Here's the deal.
unboxing,
When
man.
you get that package, you have to unbox it on Travis's stream and let him know who's the king.
I will definitely do it.
So,
it's on. It's on.
But guys, make sure y'all jump on Bass After Dark.
Yes.
Tomorrow night. What time is it, Ken?
9 Eastern.
Okay. I'll be able to come hang out and watch. So 9 Eastern, so that's 8 Central Time,
8
not
Central.
the reverse. And you can listen to Ken, BTC, and their special guests.
3 panelists, 3 experts.
3 panel experts. So
they're going to weigh in.
Of course,
on
there's
that
also Smallmouth Crush and the Big Bass Podcast. You know, when
you.
after you've caught all up on Baitman stuff,
Yeah.
then you can go check out Smallmouth Crush, Big Bass Podcast, Bass After Dark.
Absolutely. And make sure y'all follow Bass Fishing Archives on Facebook. I've shared that on my page. Give it a like. And
thank you.
That's it, man. Guys, I'm going to get out of here.
Slide into Terry's DMs, send him pictures.
Thank you all so much.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you.
My wife's yelling at me. I got to go.
All right, guys.
Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Kevin.
Take care.